Because you've got powerful legs. How did you get the physique? Was it gym or how did you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody and welcome to this Nuthouse special between Christmas and New Year. I'm your host Steve Wellings and joining me on the call this evening we have Des, Matty DiGi and the North Carolina assassin Justin is here as well. Matty and the lads go live on YouTube from 8 o'clock most Sunday evenings. As usual, the ad-free Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes.
You better be careful about calling somebody such a thing when they got a crazy redneck neighbor. And that redneck neighbor fucking turns up dead. Consider this Exhibit A.
Well, the redneck neighbours are available here. Poor Justin, we're praying for his safety. As we said before, we've got a couple of Yanks here. We've got London in the house. We've got Belfast. There's gunfire shooting off in the background. Justin, hopefully that you're safe at the moment. To listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Sports Social, don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice, everybody, throughout the entire year of 2025. We're getting there. We're close. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Hopefully everybody makes it through the evening. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll give you an extended shout out as the show goes on. There's no secret agenda tonight. We're going to have a look at some of the movers and shakers across 2024. Decent year for boxing. A few loops, I think, were tied up, and then look ahead to 2025, see what is waiting for us around the corner there. A bit of Bellew of the week as well, just to close us out. Damo's been sending me the Bellew of the weeks through the WhatsApp, so it should be a good one. We're going to start with the heavyweights, though, boys. A heavyweight show. Yeah, shout out to Triple C. Absolutely. Great year. Heavyweight show. The dust has settled on Saudi. Last week it was, or the week before. I'm starting to lose track now. We had Alexander Usyk going in against Tyson Fury in the big rematch. We talked about that last week. I heard the boys. Great job as usual on the podcast going through it. Bit of a historical one to start off with for you, Des, if you don't mind. You spoke last week about Fury Usyk. 24 rounds we've shared in the ring now. As a man of history, of legacy, of opening up the book through time, how do you think, Des, both Tyson Fury and Alexander would have fared in specifically the 90s ecosystem? You had Mike Tyson, you got Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Holyfield, throwing Rackman if you wanted, a bit of Andrew Galotta, why not? All those other names floating about that 90s into 2000s ecosystem. How do you think these two boys would have fared, Des?
That was a really competitive era. And it wasn't quite 70s heavyweight boxing. Nothing would ever match 70s heavyweight boxing, but it was a very fierce era of heavyweight boxing. And what it had was a culture and a tone. And it was, what we see now is a very Eurocentric division. That was specifically an Afro-American scene. And I'll give you a comparison. Shannon Briggs told this story on social media of he won the Brownsville Cup, and that put him into the Golden Gloves, and he won the New York Golden Gloves, and he got onto the American team, and he went around North America, and he ended up in the Worlds and boxed the Cubans. But he was part of elite amateur squads, and he was boxing at elite amateur level. And when he turned pro, he met Shelley Finkel on a winter's afternoon in New York, and Shelley Finkel and him agreed a deal. And Shelley Finkel said, "I've noticed you've not got a coat, Shannon." And he said, "No, I don't own a winter's coat." And he said, "Well, that's a bit harsh. You live in New York and we have severe winters." He went, "Yeah, no, I haven't got the money for a winter's coat." So Shelley Finkel went and drew him out an advance and said, "Look, take this as an advance payment on your first fight. Go and get yourself a coat." So Shannon Briggs went and bought himself a coat. So that's an elite amateur heavyweight in the 90s. Compare that to the type we get now that have got their own apartments, drive their own cars, get given their own clothes, get given tap and go cards, get given really good wages. The point I'm getting at is we all respect boxers. And I've used this phrase on the pod before. I get a funny feeling that the heavyweights of the late 80s, early to mid 90s were lions brought up in the wild. And what we get now are lions brought up in a zoo. I just think they were rougher, they were tougher, and they come up a lot harder. And that's a prime example of how an elite amateur in the early 90s is nothing like an elite amateur today. Society's mollycoddled everybody. And we're just getting softer. To answer your question, Steve, I think a good kid's a good kid. And if you're around better kids, you're only going to get better. I think Usyk and Fury belong in any era. How they would have got on, if I look back at, say, the guys Lennox Lewis boxed, one after the other, if you think about guys that we don't talk about anymore, like, 49-0 Gary Mason, WBC #1. If you think about guys like Razor Ruddock, then he fought Tony Tucker. Then he was in with Frank Bruno as a world champion. Then he was, then he was in against Tommy Morrison, Ray Mercer, Olympic champion. Then we had him back in with Henry Akinwande, world champion, Andrew Galotta, Shannon Briggs, Magrovich, Holyfield, Michael Grant, Franz Brofer, David Tua, Rackman, Tyson, Vitali. I'm not quite sure if Usyk hit hard enough and was big enough. And I'm not quite sure Fury had the power in his punch and the balance to live amongst that group of big guys. I think they can live in any era, but I don't think they would have been standout in that era. I think Holyfield, Bowe, Lennox, and a prime Mike Tyson, and I'm even going to put Vitali in that, would have been an absolute nightmare for both Fury and Usyk. But I want to just end on this though, Steve. I've always believed a good kid is a good kid, and they only get better if they're in better company. But that would have been really hard company for them. So,
it's something interesting you kind of made me think of when it comes to the 70s heavyweights, the 90s, et cetera, is an interesting
Matty, can I just cut across you there? So sorry, mate. My mate Matty. And I think if we talk about 90s heavyweights, and that's a monster, well, 70s heavyweights were Godzilla. I mean, that's a whole new story. Well, that's a whole new subject.
And that's the if you're thinking about that lens, consider this, and it's almost the idea of the guys who never won a title in an era, how they would have competed against the tight list of another era, and take this into mind that Ron Lyle and Ernie Shavers fought each other in an absolute banger. It was the first time Ron Lyle ever got dropped, Shavers being one of the greatest punchers in the history of the sport. Those are two guys who fought each other who were never good enough in that era to win a title. What does a Ron Lyle and an Ernie Shavers do in the 90s? Are they better than your Tony Tuckers and people like that? And at that time, do we think that this era of heavyweights is so diminished compared to that era? Does an Ernie Shavers or a Ron Lyle beat Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, etc.?
Well, you remember Ron Lyle gave Foreman, he said, besides Ali, his hardest fight.
One of the best fights I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you're right. It's like if Usyk I still think size matters in certain levels. And Usyk is he more skilled than most of the 90s guys? Probably, just basic skill ability. But that doesn't, there's a lot more factored into it, I think, than that. Like Des said, there's a lot more into it. Look at Galata. If you go back and just watch him, he dominated Bo when they fought him. Then he just did the stupid shit. Galata was really, really good, and he was big. So yeah, those are always the good questions to ask. And Fury is always going to play because of his size.
At his prime, a guy that big that could move like that.
His versus his size is always going to play him in any era. But I don't know. It's just one of those deals. Usyk, I like Usyk, I always have, but we'll get into that. If we want to get into, I think Timothy Bradley got on his YouTube page and really went off on Usyk, saying that he's tired of hearing, the all-time great, and that Usyk's not an all-time great.
Example as well, Justin, the fact that he only had 22 fights, which I would say was in Usyk's favour more than
I don't think that's not a negative. I get what Bradley was saying. I do, because Usyk, in my opinion, is an all-time. He's probably the best cruiserweight of all time. In my opinion, he is. But is he an all-time great? What does all-time great mean? Is he top 10 of all time in what? Cruiserweight or heavyweight? That's where the question is. I think Bradley was tired of hearing people say that Usyk was an all-time pound-for-pound great. I don't think Usyk's an all-time great, if you look at it that way. He's the best cruiserweight ever. Is he the top 10 heavyweight of all time? Is he a top 10 heavyweight of all time? That's debatable.
I'd agree with that. People are saying that he's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He's only had a fucking 5 fights of heavyweight. Will you stop? 2 of them are against fucking Joshua Dubois. Stop, like.
But then you have to be, if you say he's the best ever or top 10 heavyweight of all time, that means you're saying Fury is a top 5 or 10 of all time because that's his biggest wins. Then you're saying Joshua is a top 10 of all time, and they're not top 10 of all time.
It's Robert's like pound for pound.
The top 50-ish even kind of guy. You're getting into that. And I don't, the only guy.
Just let him be a great fighter. He will go down as a Hall of Famer, put it that way.
It's on your context though as well, Rob. Like, it's like pound for pound Hall of Fame. The individual like makes up their own sort of constraints as well, I think, to a certain degree, maybe.
Yeah, like I get it. Like, he has to fight who's in front of him, and he's definitely, for me, he's the best heavyweight of his era because what he's done at heavyweight since he's got up there, he's beat the top guys, hasn't he? So they can't say they're the best of the era because he's fucking holding wins over the two of them, like. And the other one lost to the other one, so that's the way it fucking goes. Like, but in terms of all-time great heavyweights, you have to look at his fucking resume at heavyweight is basically 48 rounds against AJ and Fury, like, where they could do nothing with him. But are those two themselves like gonna fucking have the massive impact fucking in the history books? I don't know. Like, Fury, I think, is in the argument of, but I don't know about AJ. But anyway, I'm saying all that to say, like, just let him be great. He's a great fighter. He's going to go into the fucking Hall of Fame, but he's not like fucking the best heavyweight of all time.
He might not even be the best Ukrainian heavyweight of all time. He might be number 3 on that list, depending on your opinion. I think the more interesting historical conversation about Usyk is it Usyk or Lomachenko who is the best Ukrainian fighter of their generation?
In professional terms?
I think I would think combined they're I mean, you say 396 wins with Lomachenko. I mean, they're both medalists and shit like that. So I don't know. I'd like to kind of throw the whole resume in there.
Des, just before it goes out to my head, you said obviously a good kid's a good kid, and I think a hard man's a hard man as well in any era. So we're talking conditionally here. Not that I want to dump on my old mate Al Heyman, who's completely fallen off the wayside here, but he's responsible for a lot of this in regard, which will sound strange the way I explain it now. A lot of Al Heyman's modus operandi was making sure people who'd got slayed in the past and treated badly got paid well, i.e. off the back of what happened to his brother. So do you think that Al and a number of others have been responsible in recent years for sort of shrinking the gap between coming into the sport as a hard man waiting to achieve things as a youngster and actually achieving the things. In the old days, they got their just rewards eventually. Say like a Marvin Hagler, for example, had to go through hell for years before he got his opportunity. Then you'd like to think he was well remunerated for that. But do you think the gap between the guys coming into the sport and when they're earning the big money and getting the big rewards has shrunk due to people like Heyman, which means that the good kids maybe aren't being schooled as well as they were back in the old days?
So, like guys like Al Heyman corrupted the market by overpaying kids too soon. Is that what you mean?
Yes, with good intentions. Well, supposedly good intentions.
And when we had this conversation a few years back, didn't we? Because I think Eddie started doing it. Didn't he? Started giving like mid-card guys pay-per-view money, and we see a lot of this corruption going on. And when I say corruption, they corrupted the market. I don't mean anything, nefarious, but yeah, I think so. But I think that's boxing trying to keep up with a pack. We've seen Premier League football go through the roof. We've seen Formula One go through the roof. Grand Slam tennis has gone through the roof. And I think for boxing not to be a cottage industry, to not get left behind, I think I'd start throwing money at events. So as a consequence, we've lost a lot of the things you're talking about, kids coming through the hard way, kids having 25 fights off camera in small hall shows, building a resume, learning how to do it, learning their trade, and getting there after 3 or 4 years. Now we see kids turning pro with a lot of money. They have 3-4 fights a year, which is not enough. And after 4 years, they're probably not equipped to be where they should be after 4 years. And a prime example of that would be someone like a Joe Joyce or a Fraser Clark. We're seeing it with Ben Whittaker. They get matched slowly and softly because so much money has been put into them. You have to overprotect it. You have to mollycoddle that investment. So it's not good for them. It's not good for the sport. But I sometimes think when I listen to sports shows now and sports broadcasts, I'm not quite sure that they're talking to the boxing fan anymore. They're talking to the casual. And I think that's probably where boxing has been aimed. And I've come off the question a little bit somewhat, but I think the money involved in boxing now and the type of money boxers are receiving very early in their careers, the type of shows they're putting on, the type of matches we're getting, the matchmaking being made, no, I don't think it's conducive for a really good career. I don't think it's conducive for a fighter having 25 fights and being ready at world level. But I maybe think that's not what they're trying to do now. I think they're trying to veer them a different way where they get them as much money as they can for as is lesser work. The phrase I should use, maybe not have such a harder career. And if you look at the guys we're seeing come out of Olympic Games now from, say, Audley and Sydney in 2000, the route seems to be, let's get them there the best way we can, as easy as we can, without the bubble being burst en route.
Good points from Des, as usual. The chat have thrown in a few interesting points. Chilo says Loyal versus Shavers was insane. Loyal versus Foreman was insane as well. That's Jason Cheel. Shout out to him. Arlene Burley says Lennox would obliterate both. I think beat obliterate's probably a bit strong. Alex Bellotti says dog with fleas. I'm assuming he's referring to me. Don't worry. Matty's back next week. He says, what was a bigger robbery? Canelo Golovkin 1 or Fury-Usyk 2? He's been raging all week, Alex, so we'll pray for him. Hopefully he's getting on all right there. Ray is phoning €11.99. He says, another great year of content. I missed last week's pod. Can the panel discuss what's next for Dave Allen? The question, Rob, has never been more relevant.
Yeah, fucking... Who'd have thought we'd be looking at fucking Dave Allen fucking getting robbed, getting on the end of a bad decision? Fuck me in 2024. What's next for him? As a serious note, probably a fight somewhere against somebody who's not that great, and another one for Johnny Fisher. I don't think they're going to go straight back in with each other, Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. I think Dave Allen wants the rematch, as he should. I think they'll be getting Fisher at the right time, wouldn't it? I think if there's any smarts in the Fisher camp, they'll keep him away from dangerous Dave Allen at this stage of his career.
Allen's ended up like Liam Cameron, hasn't he? A bit Rob in that sort of like, well, I know Cameron didn't lose, but that sort of loser, gets a pat on the back kind of thing. He's going to get another payday at least.
Because he's after having some paydays, isn't he? For fuck's sake. Yeah, look, I mean, in fairness, it's not often you're rooting for fucking Dave Allen. Do you know what I mean? Once you get past the horror show that was the physical state of the two of them colliding against each other in what's essentially without being disrespectful, a very low level fight. It actually turned out to be pretty entertaining, and you find yourself rooting for the White Rhino for the first time ever. So stranger things are happening. If that's not proof we're living in a fucking simulation, I don't know what is. Like, I was rooting for fucking White Rhino last week out of my seat. Get him, Dave. Just to sick of Big John. Like, really, that was the real motivation behind it. But you know.
Oh dear. You did unmute, Rob. I know you probably wanted to say something a little bit more pertinent than that. Feel free.
I was just laughing at there wasn't things for Dave Allen, really, I think.
Oh dear. Frank Fitz says, washed Klitschko aside, where's the top level scalps on their resumes? Wilder is a bit of a freak aside. Wilder was a beast in his prime, but neither AJ or Fury have a great CV. Parker ain't no David Tua. I'd agree with that, but let's not historically revise either. Tua was a very good fighter if he caught you with that left hook. If he didn't, then he could be dealt with. Matty, back onto our debate here.
Sorry, Steve, I will jump in on that one if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think we're fucking I think as the boxing public and mainstream media and fucking just casuals, I think we're fucking discounting Fury a little bit early. You kind of gave him his props last week when you're giving us, but we've kind of dismissed him because he's lost twice to Usyk. This version of him is not the best version of him, isn't it? Not like, I know Usyk's 38, but this 36-year-old Fury is not what he was, say, when he was 32. Let's not forget, through his own fucking fault, obviously, he threw away 3 years of his career, so we've seen him probably robbed of his prime. Nobody expected him to come back. Those fucking Wilder fights were serious. Like, not too many people were picking him to come through those, like, both times. So I think I know he took the piss with his Mary Poppins act, and he's given all the house to charity, and there's a million things that could make you turn on him. They pissed her about with the AJ fight, and they didn't get it done, and that left a sour taste in people's mouth. His stick got old overnight, but he was a fucking good fighter, man. Tyson Fury, I think. Anyway, like, he was a very good heavyweight. Like, I think we're all kind of fucking dismissing him generally now, like, since the 2 losses, like, as if he was nothing. You know that way?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fair, Rob, as well. And like I'm saying, no disrespect with David Tua. Everyone on this panel sat and watched David Tua, and that was 20 odd years ago. And Tua was a good fighter, but looking at Fury, being able to deal with different styles, smaller man, very left hook happy. You got to be fair as well whenever you're going through these things. Go ahead, Des. Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of pick up from what Rob said there as well. I think we lost 3 years of Tyson Fury before he got his act together. Don't forget the 20 months between Wilder 2 and Wilder 3. And then the 3 years of Chisora, White and Ngannou. He had loads of inactivity, and I think that really hurt Tyson Fury. I don't think he lived the right way, and I think that's what was detrimental to Tyson Fury's career. But I'm not going to... I don't want us on this pod and people on this pod, because we're all boxing people. We can't play down Vlad Klitschko, who was untouchable until Fury got hold of him. We can't play down Wilder, who was turning really good fighters to stone. And Fury went in there 3 times with him and give us 3 epic fights. We can't play them wins down. I think the problem with Tyson Fury is he hasn't got enough of them. Like, he's got 3 world champions on his resume. That's not enough. And if you asked a question earlier, as we look back on his history, where do these guys sit? I think everyone will say Fury could have been the one. Unfortunately, Cunningham, Vlad and Wilder, if he retires now, probably isn't enough to put him with the Larry Holmeses and the Frasers and the Formers and the Lennoxes and the Vitalis. That probably comes from a lot of inactivity and calling his own shots. Fury's problem isn't the guys he beat, because he beat some good guys. He didn't beat enough of them, mate.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. That's why I was slating Fury that year when he fought Ngannou and Chisora. I wasn't opposed to the fights per se, but I said they had to be part of a 3 or 4 fight year, and then you could sort of write them off. The fact they are the only fights in a year was the problem I had at the time.
I agree with you. And just a little touch on Deontay Wilder. There was a window in boxing where he was absolute dynamite. He was brilliant, Deontay Wilder.
Yeah. When he beat Brazil. Absolutely fantastic. Matty, a quick one for you before we go back to Justin. I'm not going to get into the whole Usyk versus Holyfield debate, etc., but I do think the parallels are interesting. Obviously, the Usyk Fury, the size comparisons, Bo, Holyfield. I know they ended up differently and stuff. They shared different fights and whatever. But both Usyk and Holyfield, Matty, used their size to their advantages with no little skill. But I think the differences between the two of them, which will be told in years to come, Usyk traded a lot on his size regarding his footwork, his movement, his ring smarts, the jab, moving off to the side. dipping and ducking in and out. Holyfield, to a certain degree, especially as he got that bit older and his feet were planted a bit more, trading on his heart, his spirit, his immense toughness. Very skillful guy, Olympian, etc. I'm not playing that down at all. But now Holyfield's paying the price for those guts, that heart, that spirit, that immense toughness.
Well, and yeah,
given his physical state.
Fighting almost until you got a senior discount too.
The next thing, exactly, he didn't get out, which would lead on to Usyk's retirement question. But you see the point I'm making, Matter.
You know, I almost think like it'd be worth it for you and some of the other guys who are more well versed on it to have just a retrospective on Evander Holyfield, because he's an interesting guy to talk about when it just comes to how he went about fights, his style, and things like that. I mean, he was a combination puncher. He was incredible stamina. He was high energy. He kept on his toes a lot of the time to keep you out of rhythm. Defensively, he was a little bit weird. I mean, he picked up a lot of stuff on his gloves, but he was probably one of the last guys who kind of effectively deployed that Foreman kind of cross style defense as well. But he, you know, he was lacking a few things, and I think, yeah, he might have been on some stuff, but when you consider that they weren't that far apart in age, and that James Toney kicked the shit out of Holyfield, I think that kind of speaks volumes about his real level. And it's not to really diminish him, but I think there was limitations that he had at heavyweight. And, you know, and the Riddick Bowe fights were obviously incredible, and people talk really highly about Riddick Bowe, but outside of Holyfield, what was his best victory? What's Riddick Bowe's career resume look like without Evander Holyfield?
Bit of Herbie Hyde love there, Matty.
I guess that's what you get out of there. But it's so I think Usyk and Holyfield is an interesting fight. But as far as comparisons, I mean, I think by the size and things like that, you know, you're looking at some similarities. But stylistically, I think incredibly different fighters. But it is interesting to think how Usyk would have done against a guy like Dwight Muhammad Qawi, right?
Well, talking of size, exactly. Jason Shields says his fight with Qawi is one for the ages at cruiserweight. Don't forget, Matty, I know he didn't win the fight, but Qawi, bizarrely, fought George Foreman at heavyweight at one point, and Qawi was, what, I don't know what his listing was, 5'7".
That was a fun fight. Like he hit Foreman with some shots, but he just didn't have the size to hurt him enough, and he just kind of succumbed to it. And that was an old Qawi, but yeah, he was an interesting guy, and I think, you know, Toney was kind of in that same vein of fighter where he just you know, just kind of got fat, and he was so skilled he could compete. Roberto Duran, another one, like he just went up the weights as he got fatter. I mean, it was clear he wasn't in great shape, but they're just so talented that they could play the game at weight classes they should have no business touching.
A quick one from Ray.
Class games myself this Christmas.
Undefeated in that liminal state.
Well, that's why they introduced Bridgerweight, Rob. So welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, we're walking around weight.
It's all water weight, Rob. Ray says Fury is a top 25 heavyweight and Usyk is a top 10 of all time. Usyk's ring smarts are nearly unmatched in the pantheon of the heavyweight greats.
Oh God, top 10, man. There's some great heavy. That's tough, Ray. God damn.
You're not getting down with that pantheon chat, Matty.
No, you know, if there was anything that I think I could say that is generally inarguable, I think it is safe to say that Fury, Usyk, and Deontay Wilder are top 50 heavyweights.
Well, Alex Bellotti says name 20 better heavyweights better than Fury than pal. So we'll do that later, Alex. We'll email that one to you.
It's easier. The 10 better than Usyk is a lot better. I mean, because it's just so you got Ali, Joe Louis, Lennox Lewis, Larry Holmes, Joe Frazier, George Foreman. See here, who are we gonna? I don't know about. I think there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of blown up in Marciano and what he accomplished. I think what's more interesting the fact that these guys would have been cruiserweights today, and thinking about them as cruiserweights. Some of them.
You mean blown up like fighting guys like, well, I suppose himself, for example, but the Ezard Charles, Jersey Joe.
He got a lot of guys when they're much older.
Joe Lewis,
things
was
like that. Yeah. I mean, Joe Lewis was 100 and whatever years
You got
old.
like Ken Norton
fellas in the rematch though. Like if anyone gave him a close fight, they fucking flattened him the next time out. Like he settled arguments in the fucking emphatic way with the Susie Q, baby. I thought you'd have a lot more love for Marciano being an Italian, Matty. You're self-loathing Italian. I think.
You gotta be honest about some of these things.
Gotta be honest,
I was just thinking Floyd Patterson. I'd put Floyd Patterson probably above Usyk. I mean, wouldn't you?
Hey, Floyd Patterson from North Carolina.
Irish wife, but he's not getting a pass for that. I don't think he'd have.
Well, hell, Ken Norton was an incredible heavyweight, and I think I put him. I know people don't believe it. I put him above Fury Usyk, and I know people will argue, but hell, look at his body of work. I mean, look at the people he fought. Every damn body.
Jesus Christ! I'm telling you, Arabs are just buying up everything. Steve, look at that.
What the hell? Hatton bomb dropping the £101 in. My man, he says, "Nice one, lads. Actually, up for one of these pods. Keep up the great work and up the Reds."
Don't open that, lads.
I don't know who the Reds are, but we're happy to endorse them for £101. Hatton, thank you very much. That is an amazing contribution there from our friend Hatton. A member of the Nutters chat as well, Matty, regular contributor, and he's got up for episode. Well, it's not even 601, is it? It's some kind of little episode in between, a little Easter egg episode.
You're not counting this as 601? Well,
I haven't put no.
Makes it even tougher for me to get to 700.
Sorry. Oh dear, there we go. Nice one, Hatton. Much appreciated, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Justin, I have a question for you, actually. I was having a little back and forth with somebody during the week, and they were suggesting that Daniel Dubois was the fighter of the year for 2024. Far from me to get stuck into Daniel. I think he had a couple of good wins, Hrgovic, obviously, and the excellent knockout of AJ. But it has to be, for me, Justin, Usyk, because what Usyk did during this year was he not only beat Fury twice, but he created a definitive space from himself and the next guy in the division. Dubois beat AJ. So in the context of his own career trajectory, I can understand it was a massive achievement. But Turbiev was a good shout this year. Beat Bivol, but not conclusively enough. I think we'll all agree. A second fight is needed there, just like it was here. And Usyk won that second fight. When Inoue cleared out Fulton to Parles, he created that partition between him and the next person. Crawford did the same with Spence. You get the idea. Only Frank Warren and a handful of diehards, shout out to Alex Bellotti in the chat, now feel like Usyk hasn't separated himself from Fury, Justin.
I agree with you. I don't think Dubois is fighter of the year because you have to rate Hrgovic, and I think Hrgovic sucks. So that's not really like, to me, that wasn't a big win. I think Hrgovic showed what he was, so that's not a great win. And then Joshua, this is a shadow of what he was. So, yeah, like you said, they're great wins for him and the promoter, but they're not fighter of the year wins. They're just good wins. So I agree with you on that one. They're just good, solid wins. They're nothing like special because Hrgovic is trash and AJ is, I wouldn't say AJ's done, but he's done it like being the top level. So, yeah, if you look at unification and bringing people to the sport and getting, Usyk probably was fighter of the year.
I think maybe the argument for Dubois is that he's comeback fighter of the year.
Mm.
Yeah, he is. You could say comeback fighter of the year, yeah, but not fighter of the year because, like I just said, you have to say fighter of the year. You have to either win a bunch of championships or you have to beat the best in your division.
He's IBF champion, Justin. Excuse me.
Yeah, but still, I don't really. Not the real IBF champion. I think you got to. That's just different for me. You got to beat the guy who has the belt, and he beat Hrgovic, and he beat a past it Joshua. So I think Matty's right. Fighter of the year, but definitely not. I mean, comeback fighter, they're definitely not fighter of the year.
Great shout there, Rob. Comeback fighter of the year for Dubois. could have been written off after that Usyk incident, which has sort of matured like a fine wine due to low blow gate. Beat Jarrell Miller, beat Hrgovic, no matter what you thought about him. He came in like a slob. He was undefeated. A lot of people expect him to beat Dubois. Same with Joshua, under the lights. And next thing we know, he's running into the ring in Saudi, gate crashing, shouting at Alexander Usyk. He has a comeback fight of the year, Rob, sounds right to me.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, but I think he needs to let me start writing the script for his trash talking just to fucking make him exponentially better as a kind of a, with a bit of acerbic verbal ammo instead of, Usyk, I want my revenge. Congratulations on your win. That was, but you know what I like about Dubois? Like you said, under the lights this time, so much pressure on him. Like we've seen him, people say swallow it before, but he's only fucking like barely past a teenager at that stage. Like he's had, you know, he obviously has a very kind of strong influence from the dad in terms of where his career direction is going. They took a gamble taking him away from McGuigan. He ends up with Don Childs. They run Usyk close, you could say. You know, I always felt like that shot was borderline. Usyk probably used the experience to buy himself a bit of time. I think he definitely felt it, whether it was in the goalies or on the fucking short rib. It had an impact. Obviously, Usyk gets up and does the business, starts going through the gears again like he does, and he stops Dubois again off a jab. So again, there was question marks about him. But pressure situation comes through it against Hrgovic. An ugly fight, like you said. A lot of people expected Hrgovic to grind him down. And there were signs of that in the first half of the fight, and he started to fucking headbutt him and just fucking fight his way through it, like, and eventually gets the stoppage on a cut, and then blew AJ away, fucking smashed him to pieces from the first round, and should have been under all the pressure that night, but relished the moment, like, came out under the lights and fucking turned out the lights on AJ, and that's what we want in the heavyweight division, a heavyweight champion who can punch and knock people out as good as the 48 or as the 24 rounds were with Fury and Usyk, when you're watching high level shit and two lads playing chess with each other and trying to fucking negotiate for the center of the ring and being cute here and slipping shots here. It's great. But over fucking 24 rounds, you watch it and go, what happened apart from the fucking knockdowns with Usyk that time? So you want to see people fucking finish the fight emphatically. And Dubois has that. Like, he always has that shot, even if he's behind in the fight. So he brings an entertainment value that's kind of unmatched with the guys who are up there now. You put Moses Atoma in that category as he's coming up, but there's very few fellas that can turn the lights out now that Wilder's gone. Having said that, I think this fucking Parker fight's all wrong for him. I think they should have been fighting anyone except Joe Parker, who's on a kind of an ascendancy. Let him have a gimme while he waits out the landscape and see what the big money fight for him is. Like, why fucking put him in so much danger? But hopefully,
it feels like a trap fighter 50-50, doesn't it? It's
like, I don't like Parker's after getting a lot bigger. His endurance is fucking. He's shown his grit and determination. Like, he's going to be there. Like, if Dubois can't get him out of there, he's going to be there, and he's going to be putting pressure on him the whole way. So,
and I think Zhang, you dismiss Zhang as one of those guys that could just turn the fucking lights out. The guy's massive. The way he spun Wilder around, like, it was fucking ridiculous. He can bang him. The fact that Parker got up twice off that son of a bitch.
Yeah, he can hold a shot. So I don't know. Like, it's well, we've seen him getting dropped by Dillian White before, but he dropped White in the last round as well. So he's going to be there. He has staying power, Joe Parker. So I don't know. And
he has the potential to make it ugly, doesn't he? And sort of get to Dubois late. You know,
you feel like they'll be working on ways to beat him. Like, I just think it's a dangerous fight for Daniel Dubois. A lot of D's in there. Throw some D's on that bitch. But hopefully Triple D, for the good of the sport and the excitement factor, you'd like to see Dubois still be in the mix for maybe a return with Usyk or something else bigger, like maybe Fury and AJ fight, and he fights the winner of that down the line, like either a rematch with Joshua or a fight with him and Fury would probably be fucking massively entertaining still, and still generate a lot of money, especially if he understands the assignment and sticks to the task over the next two fights. But who knows? But I like Daniel. I'm saying all that to say I like Daniel Dubois.
That's good. We're fans of Daniel here. We have nothing against him. Parker is in with a big shout in this one, says Thomas Newman. He outlasted Zhang, so if he can stay in the fight, he can really stick it on him late. Arlene Burley shouting at Dubois for Sports Personality of the Year. That would be a good one if he rushes into there. Oh dear. And Thomas Newman here is bringing in calendar year. It's like when you want to get a manager sacked, you can go calendar year on his ass here. And probably Bam deserves a shout for one of the strongest 12 months. As I mentioned with Dubois there, if you include in the 12-month period, you've got Jarrell Miller thrown in as well there, Justin. But as for Bam, I suppose you've got Pedro Guevara this year in November. You've got Estrada in June. And if we are going 12-month to 12-month, you've got Sonny Edwards there, recently retired. Don't want it no more, Sonny Edwards. 12 months ago, he was giving Bam all he could handle for about 7 or 8 rounds before he decided that he didn't want it anymore. But yeah, Bam's had a good 12 months, Justin, really.
Definitely. Bam. Everybody likes Bam. I think everybody on here likes Bam, but he's had a good. I mean, Edwards. I don't know if that win's going to hold up too well in the future, but at the time, it was a good win. I mean, Edwards was undefeated. He had all his confidence till Bam pretty much ended Edwards' career that night because he beat the confidence out of him. And you saw that Edwards' last fight. I think the reason he quit reason he was like he was in his last fight because Bam beat it out of him. And so, yeah, he's had a great year. And but that's fighter of the year, though, who he beat. He beat all guys fighting for world championships. He beat guys in the top 10. That's fighter of the year, not what Dubois did. Like I said, that's what he did. That's fighter of the year. But if you do calendar year, which is a weird way, but yeah, like you said, I think Usyk. If Beterbiev had fought more than once this year, if he had another good win besides Bivol,
Smith, didn't he? Was that this year?
That wasn't this year. I think Beterbiev only fought once this year, wasn't it?
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
So I'm saying if he had another good win, then I would have given it to Beterbiev. But he didn't have, like I said, only fighting once a year. It's hard to win fighter of the year if you only fight once.
That's all you can get him out, though, isn't it? It's a hard cycle.
Oh, it's funny. You talked about Deontay Wilder versus the Brazil knockout. I was actually there when he knocked out Brazil. And I was also actually there when his family tried to fight Brazil's family. And I was standing there, the only white person in the whole area. As I was like 10 feet from Brazil and his kids and wife. And it was some trash talking. So I just kind of moved my way down the hallway down the left side, but it was getting pretty bad in there, especially for a bald, red-headed white man who really didn't fit in with the whole crowd. It was still good times, though.
Inconspicuous beard.
Yeah, it was with a 4-foot-long beard, just standing on the wall, sitting there drinking a Diet Pepsi. I did not fit in with that crowd. But yeah, that was my Deontay Wilder story because that was in Birmingham, his hometown. So he had like 300 entourage outside, and then Brazil had like 8 people. And it was because including me. Hey, if it had went down, I could have thrown the Pepsi at somebody and started it. But yeah, Brazil was completely surrounded, his whole family. So that was crazy.
Oh dear, good old Dominic Brazil. Dominic, talking to Dominic's actually, Dominic Henry, shout out, posed an interesting question in the Nutters group night before, can't remember when it was. He said Fury versus Dubois. Who wins if they were to fight next? I know Rob mentioned possibly if Fury to fight AJ next, and then the winner fights Dubois, but obviously then you've got a fight in between to take into account. If they were to fight next, well, I suppose Dubois fighting Parker next, so it's a hard question. Fury Dubois basically is what I'm saying, Des. How do you think that would go down?
Yeah, if it was next, I'd fancy Fury to figure him out. But it's a hard fight. It's more interesting than people might initially think. It's an intriguing one. But I just fancy Fury's all wrong for Dubois at this stage. So I'd think Fury would figure him out.
He would indeed. And sticking with heavyweights, Des, just quickly sticking with you indeed. On the domestic front, I think one of the fights of the year last year was, and the rematch was devastating in a different respect, but Fabio Wardley against Fraser Clark, the British title was on the line. Absolutely, it was a cracking fight between the two boys. They were last man standing. They could barely stand after 12 rounds. It was a good old-fashioned British title scrap.
Brilliant fight. Brilliant fight. Fabio can take an awful lot from that because of the way he dealt with the return, and he got it bang on. He come in at the right way. He set about Fraser. He got out of the blocks really quickly. And it was almost like this is the 13th round, to coin that phrase. And he jumped on Fraser, and Fraser just wasn't expecting that. The first fight was one of the best fights of the year. I'm probably going to give an honourable mention as well to Lewis Crocker and Conor Walker. That was another brilliant fight this year on the Tyler Denny and Cash undercard. And that was, I think, in Birmingham. That was another brilliant fight. They're probably my 2 standout fights this year. Crocker and Walker, and of course Fab and Fraze. 2 brilliant fights with all 4 kids left it all in the ring and never had much left afterwards.
Rob, I think one of the stranger a series of decisions, really, I want to say, from a world level fighter, which have left me baffled this year, been from Tszyu, both in the ring and out the ring. I mean, we keep hearing all the time that Sebastian Fundora is going to fight Errol Spence. The talks are on, they're off, they're on, they're off. I mean, who wants to even see that? I think Spence should retire personally. But Fundora stepped in to fight Tszyu. Tszyu had no problem taking the fight. Then he got a real bad cut, fought through it, lost his title. Then he was going to fight Virgil Ortiz, and then the Murtazalia fight came along. Another dangerous, big, heavy-handed southpaw. We could see very early on in that fight that it wasn't going to go well. He was still spooked by the cut. He's gone from sort of hero to zero, a bit Tszyu, all from decision-making. Do you think his toughness, if anything else, is sort of his braveness, that Aussie hard man spirit, has worked against Tszyu? And he's made some pretty poor decisions this year, really, hasn't he?
Well, I thought he was a strange choice to lead off there. Who did Fundora come in for? Was it Thurman or someone?
Yes, Thurman, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I thought that was such a strange fight in the first place for him. I get it. They're trying to make him cross over into America. Maybe they thought Thurman was down from Kathmandu or whatever. He was there for the taking. But still, such a strange choice to launch, I think, PBC on whatever streaming platform they'd done a deal with. So I was struggling to see what the crossover appeal was for a guy like Tszyu. Solid guy, like, made all the right noises talking about Crawford, wasn't he? Like, at 54. I think that was where they wanted to maybe go after if they couldn't get the Spence rematch, maybe put him out and then have him fight the winner. But it didn't go that way. Fundora fought strangely like he'd never fought before and kind of kept the distance between him and cut aside. I thought he was a worthy winner. It was a close fight. There was people saying Tszyu could have had the rematch that could have affected him. But this guy, wherever they fucking got him out of as an opponent, talk about a danger man. But oh my God, the fucking power, man. Like, and talk about a guy that's all wrong for you because he's not exactly will-o'-the-wisp, is he, Tszyu? Like, he hasn't really got like an elusive style. He's there to be hit. Like,
and he wanted. He said, "No, that's okay. You dropped me in the first round. I'm even more so going to stand in front of you and fight you." Yeah. I mean, he's mental.
Yeah. I just don't. You know what it is with Tszyu? I just don't think he's. I don't think he's a top level fighter. I don't think he's the business. Like, I think he's good to a level. You get that all the Aussie fighters are going to be hard anyway. They're going to come to fight.
His brother's the same, Rob, Nikita. Just far too easy to hit. Balls of steel. Like, but
I think there's just too many killers around. Like, even what would Madrimov do to him? Like, fucking light him up. Like, you wouldn't fancy him if any of the Charlos ever fucking decided to come back. You wouldn't fancy him against either of them either. Like, I think they just have too much. Well, I don't know what the fuck they'd look like. It's been about fucking 4 or 5 years since they've had a fight, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, like, but not one that we remember. So yeah, I just think there's too many killers around, and I think, yeah, strange career trajectory. Like, he needed a big win, and I don't know even like if they looked at tape of that guy before. Like, did you think that was going to be it? Like, it just looked like a far too much of a risky fight. Like, way too risky. Like, but where does he go from here? Like, where does he go from here? Does he go back down to Australia, try and make a few quid again? I don't think they're going to be in a hurry to see him rolling out in America again. Like, are they anytime soon? Like,
wouldn't have thought so, unless he's getting beaten up. Thomas Newman says unheralded, pretty good domestic fight this year was Echo Esserman versus Ben Vaughan. Yes, it was. Esserman was in 2. The one with the other fella, who was the other guy he fought? Can't remember his name off the top of my head now. Was a cracker as well when he came back to knock him out. Oh, I can't remember his name. Someone in the chat will remember. Good. Would be good to throw Walker Crocker scarf in a domestic round robin. Yumi Happy says Cutler versus McKenna fight of the year for the lower levels. Yeah, it was indeed. Matty, tell you what was a good fight. I'm sure you sat and watched it. I think it was around August time. Sergei Boachuk against Virgil Ortiz. 2 hard men going at it. Ortiz dropped a couple of times. Razor thin, ended up coming away with the title. That was a good world level scrap, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and that was a close fight. Definitely an argument that one is the fight of the year for the year. And actually, Tapology ended up with a list of a few pretty decent fights that are worth debating between. Kolmatov versus Ford. I actually have a hard time picking against that one from February, that was March. I thought it was February for some reason, where Ford was able to stop Kolmatov in the last round. Kenshiro Taraji against Canizales, that was in January, so almost a year ago. That was a hell of a fight. They think Fury versus Usyk, Ortiz and Vahuchik, as you said, Beterbiev and Bivol is worthy of an argument. Ford versus Ball, also a really good fight. And I think Des remembers Takei versus Higa. That was a pretty fucking entertaining fight, all in all. But I think really, if you're talking about the higher levels of the sport, I think the discussion is probably between Kolmatov versus Ford and Vahuchik versus Ortiz, as far as fight of the year. And I think I'm still going Kolmatov versus Ford, Steve. That I love that last round, and I think it was the last minute of the last round stuff there. That's real edge of your seat stuff, and I like those kind of finishes.
Good finish, a nice varnished finish, if nothing else. Talking of good finishes, Justin, Moses Itoma. He's good at knocking people out. Dempsey McKean was the latest one to be destroyed. What's next for Itoma? It's hard to know what we're going to do with him, but a lot of people were loving him for prospect of the year. A few other shouts out: Abdullah Mason, Adam Azim was mentioned, but I mean, he was European champion. I don't know whether that pushes you past prospect status, maybe in terms of world title, I suppose. Ioannis Tellez as well getting thrown in. Xander Zayas, again, he feels more like a world-class contender to me. But I say it's between maybe Moses and Mason. Justin, who are you thinking? Who's impressed you as a prospect?
I think I go with Moses, but you're right about Zayas. It seems like he's been prospect of the year contender for like 7 years now. It seems like he's been around forever and hasn't actually like graduated. I think if you talk about graduating, I think Zayas has to fight for something this year. I mean, this has been going on for a few years now. I think
talking about him fighting someone else at 154 who's a heralded prospect.
I think so. Like I said, he has to. It's like, what's the old saying? Piss or get off the pot now. He has to. This year has to be it. I think if he doesn't fight for a world title this year, then what's the point? And Itoma, I think he's my prospect of the year. I also like that little, I don't know if y'all know this guy, Yankiel Rivera, little bitty flyweight dude. Yeah. I think Maddie put a question in asking who would fight for a title this year, maybe. And I think he's definitely going to get a shot this year because he's already fought for like the silver something. And, you know, the little guys always fight for world titles at like 8 or 9, 10 fights. So I think he'll get one this year. I like him. I think he's Puerto Rican. But yeah, Toma's my fight of the year. And just because I don't rate McKean, I think I told everybody on here that McKean's terrible. He's got, like, you know, McKean, if you looked at him, he has like that 1920s fighter style where his arms are like, he looks so stupid. And Itoma just destroyed him. But I think Itoma's my Aziz. He could put him in the top 5. I just like Itoma because I like the heavyweights.
He has a fighting style that predates when black people were able to challenge for the title.
That's true.
Sam Langford.
Yeah. You know, that is one tough SOB if we want to get into the guys that never really. Anyway, that's another.
That's
another. Yeah, that's another. Yeah, that's another discussion we can get into down the road. But yeah, I'll go with Itoma, and I think that Abdullah. I think Zayas Heist. I think he has to fight for a title this year. I think Mason has to get stepped. I know he got knocked down. They might want to pull it back, but hell, who cares? I'm so sick of it. Let him fight. If he gets his ass knocked out his next fight, well, then hell, it is what it is. But why coddle him? I know about the money and stuff, but with the zone involved now and everything, there's going to be a lot of money to go around. You can lose, and it's not going to do anything anymore because they're going to find something for you. So just sling him out there. If he gets his ass beat his next fight versus a top guy, well, then that just is what it is. But yeah, I think Rivera will fight for a world title this year. I think Mason, Zayas should, and Itoma I don't think he'll fight for a title this year, but he'll fight for a title in 2026, guaranteed.
Des, on that Abdullah Mason point, actually, I think the fact that he got dropped by the guy and came back, I think he got dropped twice and dropped the guy twice or something like that, actually endeared me to him a little bit more. It kind of checked a box and showed his character and his courage. Now, obviously, the fact he was getting hit so flush with I think it was the left hook at the top of my head, is something that needs to be addressed, but that doesn't stop him from winning prospect of the year for me. I think Abdullah Mason's a really good fighter.
I like what you said there. He ticks a box. We want to see, we spoke about this earlier in the show, kids being mollycoddled, being slowed down, being given easy runs, getting to world title level and not knowing how to deal with problems. Abdullah Mason won't have that issue. He's got good people around him. He comes from a boxing family. They're bringing him up the correct way. We want kids to feel right hands. We want kids to take a knee. We want kids to have hard fights, kids to lose a few rounds consecutively and turn fights around. We always used to judge fighters on things like, have you seen him get off the floor? Have you seen him turn a fight around? Have you seen him win the second half of a fight after losing the first half? So I don't have a problem with that. I'm with you. It ticks a box. I think Abdullah Mason's an outstanding prospect, as are a lot of them kids down in lightweight. But I think I want to give a mention to Oslays and Glazias, who I've been shouting about. He's had a brilliant year. Came into 2024 9-0. He's finished it 13-0. 4 fights, 4 stoppages. He's the IBO world champion now. I think he's going to have a breakout year next year because he's at the right weight to do it. Super middleweight's a little bit spare. And if Benavidez and Morel and Canelo work it out between them, I think Iglesias will be the one that comes in behind them.
And I think as well, Des, he's making people sit up and notice, like creating those sort of Gervonta Davis highlight reel knockout moments. I mean, the one of Radenko was scary. Like he rewired him like dangerously.
Correct, and he's just one of them stalking pressure type of fighter guys. As we're seeing a lot of them. Benavidez is similar. Morale's very similar to that. It could be a really good division, and he could be a great addition to it. So he might just be the right fighter with the right style in the right division. But I think 2024, he's had a really good 2020. He had a slow 23. He's had a really busy 24, and I think they're going to keep him really active in 25.
Hopefully so.
Go ahead, come to the ring with fucking Julio Iglesias. I like Ibrahim the Spider Suleiman. He's only 6-0, but he had 4 fights this year, all knockouts, I think. So he's fighting out of Birmingham there. So I think he's going to have a good year next year. And then, yeah, like Abdullah Mason and Atoma as well, because he's a puncher. But that Abdullah Mason fight was a fucking crack. I like that he went looking for him after he got dropped as well. Like, so he was trying to have it there. So he didn't get scared and fucking start looking out of the ring like other prospects or just jack it. Like he got up off the floor and he fucking toughed it out. So yeah, all credit to him. That was a good one. But yeah, prospects thin on the ground, really, aren't they?
They are at the moment. Thin on the ground, Matty. You were calling earlier for Abdullah Mason versus Keyshawn Davies in 2025. I think Keyshawn, they were linking him with Berenchik. I think
February.
Maybe in February, yeah, that fight. It's not on BoxRec, but I'm pretty sure I heard that one somewhere. So, I think they'll keep them apart, those two. Probably Bob. I don't really know what Bob's going to do.
I don't know that I'll have a choice because ESPN deal runs out in August, and then he's going to DAZN, which means that Turkey's throwing money at people. You know, he got Jared Anderson knocked out. He'll definitely get somebody else knocked out along the way there too. And I just think there's so much talent at 135 pounds. If there's anything I'm excited about when it comes to this monopolization through Riad season and Turki Al-Sheikh, it's that we might get to see a bunch of these 135-pound fighters square off. The only guy who's really a big name and outside of this fold is Tank Davis, and he wants to fight the Lamont Roaches of the world. So, you know, fuck him. I'd rather see some better fights than that. But real quick, I want to get just a prospect of the year, Steve. I want to just throw in on that one. Katsuma at Kitsugi is my prospect of the year. And
can you spell that, please?
Katsuma at Kitsugi. Katsuma with a K. Katsuma. At
K for KO.
At Kitsugi. AKITSUGI. So get this. So this guy, he's a Japanese fighter, and he wasn't getting a whole lot of traction over there. So he came over to the United States and he started fighting on Golden Boy cards. He beat 3 of their undefeated fighters in a row, and then they dumped him. And he was off in all of 2023, and he came back this year, and he beat getting 2 of the only 3 stoppages in his career over Jesus Ramirez Rubio, 22-3-3, and former title challenger Aston Poliste earlier this month as well, taking him out in 6 rounds. So I think at Kitsugi at bantamweight, I think he's a player. And even though he's living in the United States, you know, he is a Japanese guy, born, raised there, obviously just fighting his career over here. So he could play into that scene over there as well. High output fighter, usually pretty good on defense. He really puts them together So yeah, Katsuma Akatsugi, that's a guy I'm looking forward to.
Excellent. We'll keep an eye on him if we remember to. Talking about knockouts there, Matty. I know Javonta's already been mentioned earlier. That Iglesias rewiring of Shevchenko was a scary knockout. Javonta's knockout of Frank Martin. We remember like Frank doing okay early on and Javonta hunting him down, Matty, but it was a pretty brutal knockout in the end. And I suppose similar to Dubois against Joshua, a lot of people like that knockout because of the way it came. It wasn't the fact that he knocked him out. It was Joshua seemed like he's having a bit of success, came lumping in and got absolutely battered. So a couple of decent knockouts, especially Javonta's. If you watch it back, it was a hell of a finish.
Yeah, he doesn't have to touch you seemingly very hard or exactly cleanly to finish you off. And it's just one of those situations where he had hardly touched him throughout the fight. He got him in a position up against the ropes where he was a little squared up and the fight was over. Tank just has a nasty punch to him. I mean, he's only 2 of his fights have gone the distance, I think. So, I mean, if there's anything about him that's special, I mean, beyond the fact that he's such an intelligent boxer, I mean, he's probably pound for pound the hardest puncher in the sport. If you consider Wilder retired. Boxing News this year, Boxing News 24/7. Is that the one that you work with, Steve? Or is that a different organization?
It is.
So their KO of the year, you might like this one, Des, because you're high on this guy. Their KO of the year is Oslis Iglesias over Evgeny Shevchenko.
Yes, what Steve said. Yeah, he was stalking him, and he was fan. That kid is a good fighter in his own right, and it was almost like the 2 promoters saying, "Who are we going to get behind? Go and prove who the kid worthy to get behind is." And Iglesias was fantastic that night. But coming back to Tank, Matty, I think what makes Tank so special is that he can deliver heavy shots short. He can throw punches short, which is really unique. So you see Tank on the inside where fighters sometimes feel they're safe and he gets to them. Sometimes he looks like he's throwing a body shot and brings it up and he knocks people clean out. Tank's a special puncher, very unique because he can throw punches short and put people's lights out. Yeah, I'm with you. Iglesias was fantastic last time out. He's finished the year really well.
The boys are creating their own little nominations here and categories. Thomas Newman says, which prospect hyped fighter had the biggest reality check or red flag this year? I would say William Zepeda could join the list. That's a good shout. Big Freeze as well. Big Freeze getting a tick from Ray. Yeah. Alex Bellotti says, Ayman Khan is trying to get in Eddie Hearn's penthouse like Parsons and Sky Hearn. He also says Fraser Clark knew Wardley had unpadded gloves, but chose the money instead over his health. There you are, Alex Blotty's enjoying himself. Any decent KOs for you this year, Rob Kelly? I don't know if you remember that one on I think it was one of the Jake Paul undercards. It wasn't the Tyson one, but the one before. Ashton Silve, bit of a prospect, boxing Lucas Bardy's ears off, and the shot was an absolute belter.
Yeah, that has to be that one for me because I can't remember fuck all of the rest of them. I suppose Dubois against AJ for the fight on the big stage, like that was an evaporator. That was going to fall on his own leg. So yeah, but there was a couple of good knockouts. I just can't think of them off the fucking top. Sure, you just refresh my memory.
I think another good one, Angelo Leo when he knocked out Luis Alberto Lopez.
Yeah,
that one was freaking nasty.
Yeah, that was a good one. Justin, any that you want to throw in before we move on?
I'm kind of like Rob. I don't remember all of them. Which is the one where the guy got knocked out and he started dancing? Y'all remember that?
That was Iglesias, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well that's it. Yeah, that's the one. That's my knockout of the year. That was the funny one. I mean, not funny for the guy's family, but funny for me when he started.
Which is what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we watch sport, to be entertained. And I was entertained when he was doing some kind of, I don't know what the hell he was doing. I guess he was having a seizure. Hell, I don't know what he was doing, but I enjoyed it.
It's funny. AJ has an argument to have been on both sides of KO of the year because his stoppage of Ngannou was pretty vile too.
That's a good point, Matty. The final shot was a belter, wasn't it? That he finished Ngannou off with.
How many people can say that in the same year that they had an argument that they were the author of and the victim of the knockout of the year? I mean, AJ, fighter of the year. Look at that. I just made a case for him.
Good shout out there to AJ. Before we move on to an area I think which will interest Matty, I think he knows what's coming up. Justin, you threw a question in earlier. Looking ahead to 2025, Teofimo Lopez against Devin Haney, possibly. Is this a realistic fight to expect next year? And if so, how does it play out?
I think I think Maddie was talking about he wanted to see Garcia versus Tszyu, and then we were just started going down that whole rabbit hole. So I thought, well, he thinks Garcia's left hand could be the difference in that fight with Tszyu. Then I asked him, I was like, well, what would Haney and Tszyu do? Just kind of do a round robin thing. So I think Haney is more skilled than Lopez is. I think he's just a better boxer technically. But for me, I think if Lopez, not the Cambosis Lopez, but if he's ready to go, I think he just has something that Haney doesn't have. I can't just grit. I don't know what you want to call it. I just think he can go to a next level. I don't think Haney can. I just think Lopez has something to put him over the top, and Haney's just so freaking basic that I would go Lopez if they fought each other.
I think Teofimo, Justin, as well, is a momentum fighter. He showed that against Taylor, showed that against Lomachenko. If things start to go in an upward trajectory and in his favour, he builds momentum very quickly. But as we've seen against guys like Ortiz, Sandor Martin, Cambosos maybe is the exception, but if things go against him, and even in fights that he's got the win in, the momentum can shift the other way, and he starts to feel sorry for himself and starts to sort of reveal his weaknesses in the ring. You know, why are you putting me in with a runner? I hate runners. You know, you'll say shit like that between rounds.
But think about this, though. What does Haney have? Like, we don't know what he's going to be mentally like when he gets in, because Garcia, steroids or not, Garcia beat the hell out of him. And so it makes you wonder what he's going to have left, because he got the shit kicked out of him. And his mentally,
it's going to be worse when he fucking, when he fucking.
I mean, you got the hell, and then you lost it. Yeah. So I don't know how you come back from. Everybody comes back from it, but him is a little bit different because him and his dad have built him up so much.
Well, it's not so him coming back. His wife is on fucking. They're after leaking footage that she was at the jail visiting young Thug, crying, saying, "I can't live without you."
So he's fucked either way. Then
she's a legend that the timeline hasn't matched up, but we can come back to that in Bellew here actually for Haney and Bill, Devin and Bill Haney.
Someone else, Steve. If he could just get the balance right between being proactive, reactive. If he could just build on the Paro result, if he could just make that IBF title work for him, with where he comes from, with his personality, he looked really, really good. And that's Richardson Hitchens. I think he could be a banana skin at light welter. I think he could catch a lot of them kids out. I think he's a very good fighter. He's just got to get the balance right with his style.
Well, talking of Puerto Rico as well in that division, Des, one of the boys was mentioning possibly Teofimo against Subriel Matias. Matias only knows one way to fight. He has a lot of up nights and a lot of down nights. But if we know the kryptonite for Teofimo now, it'll be banter if Matias comes out and goes up against the ropes and tries to box him off the back foot.
I'm a big fan of Tszyu. I think if you get Tszyu right, I'm not saying he's Roberto Duran. Don't think I am. But I see a lot of similarities in his personality, his character, the way he fights, sometimes the way the crowd come out and support him. He's got the mad dad. I just think if you've got all the components right for Tszyu on the right night, he's a hard night's work for anyone. And I can't look past the way he kicked the living daylights out of Josh Taylor, who's a world-class hard man. And I think Tio's a real talent. If he's a natural athlete, he's a really good boxer. And, you've only just got to, if you could just put the Cambosis fights to one side. Now, he's had a couple of bad ones as well, where he didn't perform very well. But I think that kid's a really huge talent. It's just about getting it right on the night. So I think
he could have 3 losses, though. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, but there's a lot of I know
Ortiz, and then you also had Sandor Martin.
But there's a period in a lot of really great fighters' careers where they just get over the line in some. I agree with you, Matty. By the way, he could have had 3 losses, but I just think if you get him right on the night, I'm not sure anyone at 140 beats him. He's that good.
I like that Duran comparison as well. Obviously in the context.
Yes, correct, Steve. Yeah, correct, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
He's a raving lunatic, man.
I think that's where I'm going with it, Rob. Yeah, he's a little bit off the plot, but I just like his. I've seen so many videos of him. I've seen so many performances. if this guy could get it all on the same night and get it going,
he's never getting it
I'm
all
not
on the
sure
day. He hasn't got
anyone
it
could
all.
beat him.
The game,
I'm not
how
sure.
he goes physically, yes, skill wise, yes, punching,
Yeah.
yes, but he is. I hate saying these things about pro fighters the older I get, but he's not the brightest. Put it that way.
No,
Like
he's
he's
not.
fucking.
No.
He hasn't got the fucking. He hasn't got brain cells in his head. God help him. Like, and the stuff that comes out of his mouth when he's just free thinking is just bizarre, odd, and you actually. Yeah, we spoke about this before. When you're looking at Theo, like it's like a tragedy, like isn't it? Like you're fucking really feeling for him in the inside because you know, like he just hasn't got it all together. Like you've seen the fucking evidence of it in the way his public life has played out. The fucking BM hates him. The fucking the dad's all in the fucking videos, like fucking Puff Daddy. Not a great reference these days, but you know what I mean. Like he's
But
controlled
Rob,
by
it's
the
not
dad.
too
They got rid of
dissimilar.
Joey Gamachi. They got rid of Joey. They got rid of Joey because he was watching too much tape.
You could also be talking about Tank Davis, Rob. But like he's made a lot of mistakes and he hasn't got a lot going on upstairs. But if you could just get these kids
He's the
on the
money.
right channel, he's the money, correct? Yeah. But if you could
Davis
just get
is
them on
the
the right
money, that's
path, on the right path, if they get the little things like the good
Because
management
Davis
teams, they
did
get
what
the
he was
right people
supposed to
around them.
do. Davis, arguably Lopez has been matched fucking tougher than Davis. Obviously, he's fucking had Lomachenko. He has Lomachenko on his record, and Josh Taylor and a few others, and big knockout wins before the Lomachenko fight. But Davis fucking held up his end of the bargain. Like if they put him up in front of a stiff bum, there you go, win fucking 10 rounds if you want. Here comes the fucking KO finish, showtime. Give me that money, baby. You know that way, and fucking Teo just goes off the he just starts blaming Eddie Hearn and fucking wacko. He's fucking, do I still got it, bro? He's a wild man. But that's what you need. You need a bit of those characters. They're dying off in the sport. Like you probably need. But he
there's
had.
something
I will
about
say after
Teo.
Lomachenko when he had the world at his feet, like, and he fucked it up.
And there's something about Teo. I think he responds better when he's backed against the wall, like it was against Commie and Loma. And believe it or not, he wasn't the overriding favourite to beat Josh Taylor. So I think when he's backed against the wall, I think you get the best out of Teo.
He was the underdog. He was an underdog against Taylor. People fucking looked at me weird when I took him. I'm like, you're gonna beat him.
Yeah, Matty. So you're the main man.
Yeah, well, that's more just fucking pure luck on that one. I don't exactly have a track record.
Well, I'm going to pass the women over to you very shortly. But before we do so, just to remind everybody they're listening to the end of year, beginning of 2025 special of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Rob Kelly's here, Des is here, Justin, Matty, and me, Steve. I'm going to give a shout out to the people in the
Didn't
chat.
know there was any women here, let alone we were passing them over to people.
Only Arlene Burley. Shout out to a couple of new subscribers over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Snake Pliskin has decided he can't live without us and he's come back for more. And S&C Davin has also joined over. And I think it was Jonathan Johnson last week. Matty already gave a shout out to him. We'll give him a second one. Why not? Also a shout out to 100%. John Trounson's there. Arlene Burley. MLO 860, Captain Casual, that's Damo. We've got Thomas Newman. DB Cooper 1 has got over his fall to join us in the chat there. Alex Bellotti, we've got Game, we've got Ray, is floating about as well. Frank Fitz, Sam O'Hara Childs, that's a good name there. Yimmy Yappy's with us. Who else have we got here? Usyk Bum Boys, that's Game. We've already given him a shout out.
He really hates
you. Got Sam O'Hara Childs and Yimmy Yappy. Two great names.
From one end of the spectrum to the other. Boxing Monkey is with Des. That's Des. Who else we got? Hattem. Can't forget Hattem. He threw in a few pounds for us. So did Ray as well. So shout out to those boys. And Chilo35 is always hanging there. And that's Jason Cheel. He's over in the Patreon as well. Let's go back to the
I got to ask you guys. Here's a question for you. Would you rather contract COVID that doesn't kill you but knocks you down for a couple weeks, or only be able to watch Devin Haney versus Richardson Hitchens for a month?
That's a waterboard, isn't it? You could do the CompuBox numbers for that, Matty. Well, high as a kite, you wouldn't miss anything.
Yeah, just fucking keep your finger over that jab button and you'll be all right.
Even the AI judge doesn't want to see that fight. Like, fuck this.
Not too many jabs. Oh dear. Eamon Khan's there as well. Shout out to Eamon Khan. DB Cooper was asking for him. Kieran McAlpine and David Mustard says, "Hello lads, happy New Year for 2025." Same to you as well.
Hanging out in the chat.
No, yeah.
I sent him the link. And he said, "No, I don't want to talk to Steve."
I don't blame him, to be honest.
Ducking that Wellington smoke.
We love a bit of Ames. Been listening from 8 p.m. He says. There you are.
Well, that's fucking a lot of good. That's doing it. What the fuck are you doing? Coming on or what? Asshole. Fucking hell. He's
Right, Matty.
Him, isn't he?
Chuck. You haven't seen Chucky. Although I suppose the night
he was on last week.
Yeah, no, I heard him. Yeah, he did well. Did well. He spoke very well, actually. I thought, to be fair to him.
He's probably that was his trilogy fight.
No, I find it insane that of all the years you hosted the podcast and had Chuck Wu bounce on, I am the one who got him the most coherent. It was the odds weren't in my favor, but clearly I've been praying to the right God.
No, that's fine.
So thank you, Cthulhu. What are you going to say?
You put the microwave meal in and heated it up and got that win. So no, I'm happy for you. You deserve that. Anyway, sticking with you, Matty. This is your area of expertise. Female fighter of the year, Katie Taylor was mentioned. I went for Gabriela Fundora.
Same.
Great bunch of lads. Amanda Serrano, Michaela Mayer was mentioned, and the Groat, of course. It would be remiss of me to mention the Groat.
Yeah, I think that obviously Taylor has an argument. She fought Cameron and Serrano both this year, didn't she?
I don't think she fought Cameron, did she? She might have done.
Or was that last year?
That was maybe last year, I think.
You might be right. The rematch, and if she's just got the one win, that's very difficult to argue. If she's got the two, it's a better argument. But the fact that they are both a little bit controversial in the eyes of some, I think she probably nipped that Cameron fight. But the crowd and most observers did not think that she beat Amanda Serrano. So that's a really tough argument. But then after that, I mean, they obviously got fight of the year as far as the women's side of the ledger goes. There's even the argument just all encompassing that fight once again took it, but I wouldn't go that far. But when it comes to Gabriela Fundora, I mean, she's just doing fantastic work. She's unifying titles, and she is knocking people out this year as well. That's something that, again, we just don't get enough in the women's side of the sport. Why is it so hard to get people looking? It's the lack of knockouts, but she's taken just below a 50% knockout rate. This year she had 3 wins and 2 stoppages, one in the 10th round. So she doesn't stop just because she's ahead on the cards or anything like that. And she's a monster, just like her brother. She's 5'9", also a southpaw. That left hand of hers is really sharp, and it packs a wallop. So it's not only the idea when you're watching Fundora that what she's doing right now at flyweight that's so incredible. It's the idea that she could do even potentially more at weight classes above. She claims that she could go down a weight. And I would like to see her against Jessica Neri Plata. I think that's actually a really good fight. And if she could stop Plata, I think that's a very interesting. Well, Neri Plata, excuse me. I think that's a very big statement when you're talking about an established fighter. But then up north, obviously, you've got opportunities up that way as well. So we'll see. But at 5'9", packing a punch, the sky's the limit for Fundora.
Yeah, 5'9", packing a punch. Sounds like myself. Rob, I know you're desperate to come in. Before you do, we've had a message come in. I know you'll be a fan of this.
We were all nervous. We were all praying today. But what was it like moments before this Olympic final for you? Were you really nervous?
I just want to thank Natasha for the great fight. It's a great opportunity, and Freddie, just want to bless to have a great.
Andy laughing. It was almost like having Andy back on the show there for a second, wasn't it? I had to get in on that because obviously Maddie's call for fucking woman fighter of the year is a load of waffle. Should have been Katie Taylor. Beat the shit out of Amanda Serrano, mate. You're right in your face. And Gabriella Fundora, I'd knock Fundora from here to Bundora, mate. Here to get the paper.
What about Obanov? What's she up to these days?
Fighter of the year, my fighter of the year this year.
Comeback of the year, maybe next year.
Hopefully. So she could just come back and just fucking cycle off now when she's in there, you know, that way.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll come out more well-adjusted into society.
We wish her well. Yeah, so fight of the year.
Don't give up hope, Vivian. It's not over for you, yes.
Never give up hope. Matty, you're saying fight of the year, Taylor Serrano, yeah?
Yeah, at least on the women's side of the ledger, absolutely. I think it's probably a top 5 fight as far as the whole sport this year, but I have a hard time going against Kolmatov versus Ford or Bohuchik and Ortiz. I think those are both stunning fights.
Sorry. On open off is like that old phrase. It's not how hard you split someone open with a baseball bat. It's not how you get back up.
Dr. Hammerfist, exactly. Oh dear me. Justin, final few categories and then we'll get into Bellew of the Weeks and hook it out of here. World Trainer of the Year, a bit of love going there for Robert Garcia, done a great job obviously with BAM, a lot of love as usual for Shane McGuigan. Yuri Tachenko, who actually trains Usyk, is a bit of a mystery to me. There's a guy lapping, there's Tachenko, you got Lomachenko's dad hanging around as well. Mark Ramsey, Ryan Deal's choice, no doubt as well. Who would you fancy for Trainer of the Year, Justin?
I think I put down Mark Ramsey.
Oh,
that's what I went with because he has all those. I think he's Iglesias' trainer in Canada. I think he's his guy. He's Peterbiev's guy, and there was something involved in that. Yeah, I went Ramsey, but I didn't really dig too deep into it. I just seemed like he was the trainer of the year for me. And also, are we going to talk about the Woat's new movie, or are we just going to save that for like whole pod, like a watch party kind of thing?
No, you feel free. The Groat's been in the news. She's been entertaining lately, I hear.
All I know is on YouTube and over here they show that freaking clip of her damn movie, and they said it's like movie of like nominated, and like I don't know what the hell's going on. But like I said, if Maddie asked the question, what would you rather have? I would rather have COVID for a year than have to go watch that movie in a theater.
You're nominated, all right. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, so yeah, I figured we could talk about that one day.
Yeah, the Groat's fairly in the news. We're thankful to her, and she's unified. I think she's unifying the heavyweight division, or she's doing something in the heavyweight division very soon. So I know you're a big Groat fan, Rob. Pop that shit, as I think it was a number last year that she bought out.
She's popping a lot of shit these days, Clarissa. We'll come to her, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, we'll come to her. Don't worry about that. Back to trainers, Des. I said a lot of love for Shane McGuigan. He's not just as a trainer, but on the mic as well. I know he was on Sky, he was on BBC doing the AJ Dubois fight. He's a good reader of the game, Des, is old Shane McGuigan. He's a good analyst.
Yeah, he's a good analyst. He's a good reader of the fight. And maybe he's not been corrupted by networks just yet. So we get a lot of honesty from Shane McGuigan. Perhaps as we go down the line a little bit with Shane, he might have sort of come into line, but referring to last week, Steve, I thought he was brilliant on the mic. I thought he called it well. I think he spoke his mind. He said a few things we're not used to hearing on Sky in terms of, some of the machinations involved in boxing. No, I like Shane. If I had a kid that I had to direct into a trainer in this country, I'd direct him over to the Leighton cricket ground where Shane works, and I'd get him with Shane McGuigan. I think he's a real student of the sport. I think he's done an awful lot, and I can't emphasise it enough. Having the strength of his dad with him as well. Barry can pick up the phone to anyone in boxing. It's a big advantage. So I like Shane. I like him on the mic. I like him in the gym. I like him working with kids. The only thing I would say about Shane, Steve, and I've been critical of him on this pod a few times. I've not seen Shane succeed with a plan B. I think Spider Richards against Willie Hutchinson needed a plan B and Shane never had it. And Billum Smith against Ramirez needed a plan B and Shane never had it. So it's okay, Shane, when he's working with the A side. I want to see him what happens when the A side's behind in a fight. That's the only criticism I have of Shane McGuigan.
No, I think that's fair. Rob, just as we start to close out now, trainer, as I said, Robert Garcia has done a good job. The Garcia gym over there, it's fairly popping. The youngster, you got the old man in there as well. Robert obviously was a fighter himself. Some good kids, I think. Abe Barrera, there's another Garcia under them as well. They seem to be doing quite well over there in the trainer of the year. Who takes your pick, Rob?
Ben Davison, for me. No, I like fucking Don Charles for this year, actually.
Yeah.
When you think about the Hrgovic fight, the AJ fight, he kind of, it was sink or swim for Dubois, like, and he made sure he got him to a title. So I think he made adjustments with him and helped him massively psychologically in that. So fucking, I give it to Don Charles this year.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Yeah.
We like Don, and he went for a lot of crap, didn't he, Steve? And that fight week, Don went for a lot of crap that he shouldn't have gone through.
Yeah, there was all that business, wasn't there, where he was ill and we didn't know whether he was going to appear and stuff. And as we've said before, Des, Don's a good guy. He's been on the pod, giving his time up, and it's good to see him and Kieran Farrell, sort of riding on that train almost, which is well deserved.
Totally agree, Steve. Yeah.
Okay then, boys, before we close out, I'm going to invite you all just to, I suppose you can give a summation of the year, anything that I haven't mentioned, feel free to jump in with, anything you're looking forward to for 2025, any talking points, anything that we haven't gone over already, then the floor is open to you guys. I'll go through you one by one. I'm just going to mention a couple of things before I do so that I might have forgotten. So Echo Esserman, earlier on we were referring to the Ben Vaughan fight. It was his fight with Owen Cooper. That I voted for, which was a cracking British Fight of the Year. Reece Bellotti, Liam Dillon got to mention as well. And as Des said, Crocker against Connor Walker. What else did we have on these little sections? British Fighter of the Year, Jack Cattrall got to mention. Hamza Shiraz absolutely obliterated Tyler Dene fighting Carlos Adames in the new year. Nick Ball's world title reign. He had the Vargas fight, beating Ray Ford, Daniel Dubois and Fabio Wardley. Good shouts for British Fighter of the Year as well. And Event of the Year was another one that was mentioned to me. So the 5 versus 5. If Beterbiev Bivol had been on the top of that, it would have been an outstanding event. Fury versus Usyk. Beterbiev versus Bivol itself, standalone. Crawford Madjumov, maybe. Don't think they'll be going back to America soon. Discussion for another day, but the American boxing scene is kind of dragging along a bit like a corpse at the moment. Hopefully they can turn that around. Dubois Joshua. Apart from the main event, I thought the undercard was a little bit lacking in atmosphere, but once the main event got down, it was excellent. Tszyu Fondora was mentioned as well. And Paul versus Tyson. Matty, I'll give you the word on this one. I know we kind of all shit on it and it's nonsense and that, but it's the kind of fight, isn't it, that the kids are interested in. They want to watch this. It maybe brings eyeballs onto boxing. People do talk about it. Are you watching the fight? They're all asking me on a Friday night, and that was the fight they were referring to.
Yeah, and it's a shame that that's what they're into when it comes to, the fights. And if it wasn't for the Taylor Serrano rematch being on that card, I wouldn't have gone. Like, there's something in the world that would have made me go without that fight being on there. But that's what the world is today. It's stuck somewhere between like a freaking kind of circus sideshow and nostalgia. And Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson just kind of hit that sweet spot between the two. And it did huge numbers, and it's ridiculous because we've seen some incredible displays in the ring that will never even come close to reaching those kind of figures. But that's the nature of the beast. And but we'll see if maybe at least those numbers get Netflix more into the game of boxing, and hopefully they give us more Taylor versus Serrano's and Barrios versus Ramos and less Tyson versus Paul.
Well said, Matty. I think that's something we can all get behind. Right. So as I said before, I'll give each of the lads a chance, and the same as you in the chat as well. It doesn't have to be a summation. You don't have to think of too much, Justin, but just the year as a whole, things that you've maybe enjoyed, anything you want to go over, anything that you want to throw in that hasn't been mentioned, or looking ahead to 2025, whatever you want. If you want to get something off your chest, now's the time, Justin, to do so.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to put something on that guy's chest next door here in a minute, but after we get done talking, I gotta still look at it. Hold on. Oh, there's anyway. No, like I said, I've been listening to this pod for 9 years, and I'm just glad it's still going. Like I said, the only reason I even come on after 9 years is because I felt bad because Maddie and Debs were by themselves like a lot. And it's just cool to get on here and talk boxing with people because where I live, there's nothing. There's no boxing here at all. There's nobody to talk to.
Except when you meet your neighbor.
Yeah. I'm actually staring at him right now. I can actually see him right through the woods right now with he's got an AR. He's got a little table. He's got a little table set up with an AR-15, 2 shotguns, and I can't tell what kind of pistol it is, but I'm looking at him right now, and if he don't shut that shit down here in the next 20, 30 minutes, I might not be on the pod ever again. But we'll go. That's the story for another time. But anyway, like I said, it's just good to talk boxing with anybody because, like I said, nobody in my family
likes dangerous fucking hell.
Yeah. He owns a field right behind my house, and he's out there every damn day shooting that freaking shit at some kind of target. I can't even see what the target is. I just see him hitting the mud. But yeah, like I said, it's just good to talk boxing because nobody in my family likes boxing. So like when I went to see every fight I go to, I usually got to go by myself because nobody wants to go. So it's just cool to talk it with people that actually like it and that you can actually kind of get along with, that kind of see it the way you see it. And so that's just cool. And that's all I got to say. And I'm going to go yell at this guy real quick, but y'all have fun.
Well said, Justin. Well said. Follow that up, Matty, if you can. Matty, add something to that if you possibly can.
Kick his ass, Seabass.
Good year, bad year. What do you think? Have you enjoyed it? There've been some standout moments, haven't there?
Yeah, I think it was an interesting year for boxing where we got some good fights. And I think 2022 is starting out pretty good. The fact that they're getting a rematch between Beterbiev and Bivol off within 2 months of the new year is pretty incredible. I think the real story of boxing in 2024 is Turki Usyk. And anybody who says differently is really not paying attention to the sport. And we'll see what happens with Top Rank exiting from ESPN at the middle of this next year. But I think we could be is the fact that maybe none of these fights happen on British or American soil, but we could be at the precipice of a 12 to 18 month period where we see a lot of these fights we've been clamoring for. So, take it as it comes. It's a whirlwind, lots of ups and downs. But the story of 2024 is Turki Usyk and what Riad season has brought to boxing.
I think that's a fair assessment, I suppose, Des. Love him or hate him, that's the way boxing is going. The money's been pumped in. He's entitled, I suppose, to do what he wants, whether that's to the detriment of domestic boxing. We discussed that last week. But yeah, it has been a seismic shift, really, over the last year in that respect. I think Matty's right.
Yeah, but what we have created in boxing is a feast or famine scenario. So we're going to get 5 or 6 brilliant fights on one card, but we're going to go quiet for 2 months. And I'm not quite sure that's for the good of boxing. We're not seeing our fighters active enough. We're not seeing our domestic fighters getting out enough. And it's when boxing was traditionally built on a main event, a chief support, a domestic title, and kids on the way up. We don't see them on cards on TV no more. And I don't know about other people. I genuinely miss an old-fashioned boxing card where the main event was for a European title or a British and Commonwealth title. I miss those nights. Not everything has to be sellout arenas with world titles, and I think we've got to try and find a balance in boxing. I think we've had a decent year. We've had some really big fights. I don't think we've had loads of volume, but we've had some really big fights. I'm looking forward to the Bivol Beterbiev return. I'm looking forward to Benavidez and Morale. I think they're 2 brilliant fights. If I could make a fight, just because it's a little bit out there, on the back of his performance against Billam Smith, I'd like to see Opetaya and Ramirez. I think that's the best fight that can be made at cruiserweight. I think Fabio's going to have a big 2025. I think they're going to put him in with someone like Baby Miller or even Gerard Anderson. I think he's going to have a big fight in 2025. I think Bam's had a brilliant year because he's the one that's come from a world-class fighter to probably everyone's top 10 pound-for-pound fighters. We've seen a lot more of Bam, and you're right. You've got to throw the Sonny Edwards one into that year he's had, and he's had a brilliant year. I'm interested to see what the lightweights do, particularly Keyshaw, Schofield, Mason and Cruz. Be great if we can get Tank and Stevenson fighting. And lastly, I want to see our light heavyweights get going. I know we've got Boatsi and Smith, and that's great. We've got that one, but there's Yard, there's Willie, there's Dan Aziz, there's Whitaker, there's Lyndon Arthur, there's Spider. We've got a great cluster of light heavies to provide us with an awful lot of fights over the next 12 to 18 months. If it doesn't happen in 2025, we're never going to see them fights. So there you go, Steve. And if I could just say a big shout out to all the guys on the chat, to all the guys that come on this panel. You know, me and Rob, me and Ames, me and Justin, me and Matty, we've become friends. You know, and they've been a great group, and I'm really looking forward to 2025 and where the Asylum can go. And the last thing I'll say, Steve, remember about the Asylum. Sometimes we come on 24 hours before the event and 24 hours exactly after the event. We don't have 3 or 4 days to call off and pick off everybody else's ideas. We come on here, we give very honest opinions. We don't give knee-jerk reactions. We don't wait to hear what other people have got to say. We generally come on first. And, you know, when you look at all the other boxing content out there, the Asylum is still up there as one of the most consistent boxing podcasts out there. And I'm really proud to be part of it.
Well said, Des. Thank you. No, it's good to have all the boys on and keeping things going. Absolutely well said there. Rob, I think just picking up on what Des said during the middle of his final comments there, I think it's a big year for guys like, and I've been a Gervonta Davis fan, man, but the talent's slipping away and it's absolutely unnecessary. I mean, they're talking now about Mark Magsayo jumping in if he pulls out against Lamont Roach and all that. Needs to get on with it. Shakur's another one as well. These guys have just got to get on with it this year.
Yeah, terrible year really for American fighters. None of the star guys really breaking out. You had Crawford, narrow win over Madrimov, or closely contested with it, certainly over Madrimov, but it didn't catch the imagination. You had the 2 Usyk and Fury fights. They're good fights at high level, and they're great watching them in the moment, but you wouldn't go back to them necessarily to be like, oh, fuck, remember this happened, that happened. It was just like, same with Bivol Beterbiev. It was a good fight. I remember watching it in the moment, and maybe the next day thinking, this is high level shit, but nothing really happened in any of the big fights, and you need Davises and these guys to be in matched with good opponents and producing knockouts on the big stage. Like, and Davis is just like fucking made the Ryan Garcia money. The last fight was a joke. This fight's a joke. Why not Shakur? Like, why not Shakur? Devin Haney's doing this fucking thing up the weights. Like, why not Shakur Stevenson? Get him now. Like, he's at his fucking highest value. I think now he's not gonna. His stock is not gonna get any higher. Like, you're not gonna make that fight any bigger. Go and fucking fight each other now. Like, it's not gonna happen though. Like, he doesn't seem that interested. He's making noises about retirement, isn't he? Saying saying he doesn't like the sport and the scene is trash and you can't make the fights. And
I don't need to fight. My legacy's all right. No, it's not. No, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's frustrating to me. I just think that he's just so good and hits so hard. There's no reason for him not to make these fights. He should be clamoring to sweep up that generation.
And he's at his apex, and the fight fans love him as well in the States. Like, he's actually a fucking well-liked guy. Like, he should be way more active building off his fucking brand. Like, but I don't know. He doesn't even seem to be able to be bought by fucking Big Turkey, does he? Like, so I don't know.
No. Yep.
Hey, Steve, do you mind if we just real quick just touch on, because I think we're gonna probably take next Sunday off just because of the holidays and stuff, and come back in on the 12th. So I just wanted to quickly mention, and this fight might be a little bit up in the air because apparently Martinez has been sick for a little while now. But Fernando Martinez and Kazuko Ioka rematch is going to be on New Year's Eve from Tokyo, and looking forward to that one. And then also Jaya Pataya is taking on David Naika. And before anybody dismisses that one, Naika was a 2-time Commonwealth Games winner.
Better opponent than the original, I think.
I tend to think so. And also Justice Hooney is on that card, and he's an interesting enough heavyweight prospect at this time. So we've got those couple of fights coming up that we'll be discussing, and also probably we got the card from Sheffield on the 11th that we'll review as well, with Callum Simpson and Steve Woodall on there. I wasn't Reese Edwards just in a fight last week. I doubt he's on this card, right?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. He fought McGrail, didn't he?
Yeah. So I imagine we'll see what else happens on there. But Caroline Dubois against Jessica Kamara is on there. So yeah, we'll be coming back to you guys on the 12th, I believe it is. with new action. But those are some interesting fights, and I think I wouldn't say he's necessarily a live dog, but I think Naika is going to outperform expectations for the casual observer.
Yeah, yeah, I think Naika will. Sorry, I was thinking of Ioka there, but I think if it depends if Martinez is well enough to fight. It could be interesting because that's going to be a high pace, and Ioka's pretty decent in rematches, but I'd say Martinez will probably be able to get the job done there. Ames is saying, what was I? Ames said something interesting. Oh yeah, he says big year for domestic boxing. Sky deal is coming to a close. Will it be renewed? Probably will be. We always think, oh no, it won't be. They're serving up trash. Sky is going to come out of the UK market, but it always keeps going. So I'd say, Des, whether it's with boxer-sized bench alarm or not, Sky will keep going in some form.
Yeah, I'm amazed they've not subbed it out to half a dozen respectable promoters that can get good cards on. You've not got to throw all your eggs into one basket. But I'm surprised after the last 15 years, Sky haven't done that. I'd like them to do that, Steve. I don't know how you see it, but this whole exclusive deal with one promoter, I don't think it keeps everyone accountable. I'd like them to say to 5 or 6 promoters, show us what you've got and we'll pencil you in for a date. And then promoters go out and try and find the best cards possible. That's how us, the punter, that's how we get value from it. That's how we get more from our sport. I don't quite like exclusive deals. I never have done.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder why they don't go back to that. I don't know whether it's ease of use or whatever. But back in the Sky day, they used to have Barry Hearn doing it, and then Tommy Gilmore would have put a Scottish show on, or Barry would have gone over to Belfast. Do you remember the deal they did? And you got the infamous photo of Ricky Hatton, Barry McGuigan, I think maybe Kelly, Maloney, Frank back then. There was someone else, all with the hands on top of each other in the garden, and nothing ever came of it.
No, but I think that was when that's when they'd all been kicked out off Sky, and Frank Warren brought them all in to try and do a Box Nation deal, try to bring everybody in. But I don't quite think they had the money to do it. But I think Sky have got the money to give all these promoters. Look, for example, just if you were to pick someone like Dennis Hobson, like you said, Tommy Gilmore, I think Dave Calder had his own promotion, Ricky Hatton had his own promotion, Barry Hearn had a promotion. Well, there's 5. So if you could just find 5 promoters, and you could do it geographically. So you've got a promoter in Scotland, you've got a promoter in Ireland, one in the northwest, one down south. If you could all say, you're more than welcome to work with each other as well to provide the best content, but just give us between you 9 cards or 6 cards, and we'll work with the best 3 after that. But just give us something that's a bit versatile, because what we're getting at the moment, it's a little bit. Well, it's same old, and I've never ever agreed with exclusive deals with boxing promoters, because I don't think it keeps them accountable. I'd much rather see Sky, like I said, give it out to 5 or 6 promoters and say, let's provide us with the best possible content.
The risk of elongating the podcast is, do you think that the fighters are out there to provide that content? The quality of fighter needed for 6, 7, 8, 9 shows?
That's a great question, Steve, and I can only assume that if you gave more promoters an opportunity to work, then more people start taking out promotional licenses. So if you go back to say 2011, when Sky, or whenever it was that Sky done this exclusive deal with Matchroom, look how many promoters have never worked since. So we don't see Miranda Carter putting on shows. We don't see Steve Goodwin putting on as many shows. Spencer Fearon don't have a promoter's license no more. Dave Caldwell chucked it. Ricky Hatton chucked it. There's loads of promoters that used to promote either very high quality off-camera shows or on-camera shows. We don't see them no more. They've all been. It's killed a lot of the trade. But I think if Sky said, if you put out an industry word, we are going to start subbing this out, who to say they won't come back? And then we've got an amateur boxing scene that's packed full of talent. We can bring kids in from Europe and America. I think it could happen, but it does need the right finance and the right know-how. We've still got loads of matchmakers and managers still working with 100 fighters here and 100 fighters there all around the world. I think it could be done, but there would have to be a rebuilding process, Steve.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, Miranda Carter, there's Mickey Elliott as well.
Mickey Elliott, yeah. And Mickey Elliott at one time, Steve, worked with 150 fighters as a manager. So, and who is Steve, you're going to pull this name out from it, yeah. Who is the Hungarian fellow, like a little scientist? He used to work with fighters all around Europe and supply Sky with all their opponents.
Not Philip Fondue, no?
Philip Fondue, yeah. There's Philip Fondue still out there, and we've just got to tap into them. We've got to tap into them guys. And if we could get all them guys back into British boxing and say, look, there is plenty of work here, and we're going to provide 9 to 11 shows a year on a weekend, and they're not all going to be arena events, they're not going to be world titles, but we're going to look. We watched Martin Powers and Tashafi Munyai fight for a Commonwealth title, Steve, as a main event, and we still talk about it now. We watched Danny Hunt and I can't remember the kid's name. I can see his face fight for the English title. We watched Fury and McDermott fight for the English title. So we've seen all that. We watched, Derek Chisora defend British titles. It didn't have to always be world titles. You can have a bit of a balance here. The gauge can go up and down a bit. It hasn't got to always be the O2 22,000 seats sold for a world title. Sometimes you get a lot more strength in domestic belts.
Yeah. Absolutely right. There's 100%. I'm trying to remember who the Danny Hunt opponent is. I can see his face. I can't remember.
Yeah. It'll come to me in a minute. I'll just shout it out. Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Right, boys, let's get on to it then for the end of the year. There's only one place left to go. It's been a while. Tony, he still lives with us. I don't know about the views now, though, Bob, to be honest, that he's on DAZN. I'm not really sure how many he's getting.
People are really saying who now when you're talking about Tony Bellew. He should jump right in at the start, didn't he? Say he was wasn't he telling a story about a confrontation at one of the fights he was covering? Who put it up to him? Somebody. And he said that the security man pulled him aside and said, "You're a fighter, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "I could tell by how cool, calm and collected you were in that situation." So that definitely fucking happened, didn't it? Fucking hell.
Good old Tony.
Pulled me aside, mate, and he said, "I know you're a fighter by the way you're carrying yourself there, mate." And I told him I'm not scared of any man. I could wreck any man, but there's a time and a place. I thought, yeah, fucking shut up, you fucker.
It's been a
He
while.
didn't recognize him the fact that he's on every freaking TV show 24/7. He didn't recognize him because of that either.
He's coming at you, Justin, harder than a Johnny Fisher uppercut.
He's funny as shit I've seen in a long time.
That was a belter, man. It's like Fury done that back in the day. Do you remember against Lee Swaby? I think it was.
Yeah. It was Lee Swaby. Yeah.
There you are. He's in good company. He's Johnny Fisher. Let's see what we've got then. Let's see what we've got sitting on the Bellew of the Weeks for this week. A bit of Isak Lowe. I know you're a fan of him, Matty. It's all kicking off a massive featherweight clash between Isak Lowe and Lee McGregor. And old Isaac came in with this one. He said, "It's fight day. I cannot wait for tonight. I am being this belt. Home, my son." They are strong words, Matty. Strong words.
He took a lot of flush right hands. I don't know if he's going to come back to Twitter with better or worse English. I don't know if McGregor knocked something loose or if he knocked something back together, but time will tell.
Time will tell. Good old Isaac. Good performance. Had a couple of points deducted in the end. Maybe he'll end up like this guy. I know you're a big fan, Rob. I was going to cut the whole thing of 12 days of clapback from Oscar De La Hoya. He's putting these up every week. And I ended up with photos in the end because the whole thing was so long. There he's enjoying himself with a little glass, couple of buns. Anyone can get it, Rob. Duck Nello was one of his victims this week. He was going in old Canelo. And then with the fake six-pack. Who would have thought, Rob, back in 92, when he was standing, I was only 10, the golden smile, the golden boy with the gold medal around his neck in Barcelona, housewives' favourite, women loved him, not for much longer. How did it come to this?
It still looks like he's a bit of the housewife's favourite there, doesn't he? I was the golden boy, I had everything. Fuck me, man. I don't know, like Oscar firmly in line to play the Joker in the next Batman, isn't he? He's fucking walking the line there. He's on the edge. Fucking hell. See the video he made about his complaining that the missus got her implants reduced. "I had so much time for those fun bags." He's a fucking wacko, man.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Look at him with the little sculpted fucking plastic surgery six-pack. Jesus, man.
He's going in the PBC. He said they're like an exploding ship and all. I don't know who he's got making these. And even Imane Khalif was.
There's a team emerging here. I don't know where Oscar's going with this.
He's a bad man, isn't he? Oh dear. Amazing fighter, but yeah. Oh, there's James Winder. He's coming. Pop, pop, bang, bang. Exactly. What else have we got on the list here this week? Sports Illustrated boxing power list for 2024. Some familiar faces there. There's Eddie at the top, Frank, Oscar, Baturbiev, Jake Paul, Amanda Serrano popping up on the power list there, Matty. Simon Jordan, Suleiman, Daniel Dubois, and then down the bottom we've got Bob Arum, Ben Shalom, Spencer Brown, and Mike Goodall, who puts the rings together. I suppose he is on the power list when you think about it, Matty. If he wasn't there to put the rings together, he wouldn't have any boxing.
Well, yeah, and he could definitely rig a fight in some way, I guess, if he wanted to.
Suleiman had to be there, didn't he? He hadn't got his little hairy man there painted in the background.
He loves it, doesn't he, Suleiman?
Oh, he's on that power list, baby.
Oh dear, let me see. There he is.
Here we go.
With Don Jose in the background. Oh dear.
This is a life.
It's a life for Don Jose there. Who else have we got here? Oh, Damo nominated me for putting up this article. Naomi Inoue all set to deliver another Christmas cracker 2 days before Sam Goodman got cut. Well worth the time spent.
Yeah, well, what are you, fucking Nostradamus? You can't see it in the future. You can't get a Bellew of the week for that. For fuck's sake.
Oh, well, any man can get it, Rob. You know how it is. Oh, dear. What else have we got? Got a few more videos. Got sent in from Damo as well. Let's see what we shall play here next. Oh, yeah, Tyson Fury. This one might interest you, actually, Justin. Tyson explaining a few years ago, just before Usyk fought AJ, as to why he would not fight Usyk. And he makes some interesting points. Let's listen.
It's a small cruiserweight. A foreigner don't speak good English, and nobody's really interested anyway. He's not setting anything alight. I want the big fights that people are interested in, and that ain't one of them.
What if he was to beat Joshua?
Still, it won't be a big fight. He's still a foreigner in a westernised world. The belts are back in the West, and they're going to stay there. And, you know, for whatever it sounds like, the heavyweight champion should be from Britain or America, nowhere else. That's it. Because maybe in Ukraine he might be a big star, but the Britain or America ain't interested in some Ukrainian boxers boxing in Ukraine, and that's the way it is. The heavyweight champion of the world needs to be in the West, and that's it. That's how it goes.
Tyson, I know you're a big fan of Teofimo Lopez. We see him win a world title recently.
Sake. There you are. World champions have got to be in the West. No chance of that now, Rob, I suppose, unless the Usyk relocates.
Listen, don't rule out Daniel Dubois, baby. Stepping up for Britain. There is no tomorrow.
I should have cut Dubois storm in the ring, shouldn't I? But just wasn't able to get that one, unfortunately. Sticking with the Saudi theme, though, boys. I know you're going to be a fan of this one. Turki, Al Sheikh, aka His Excellency, was playing a bit like we played during COVID. The old winner stays on. I think he should maybe find a different sport.
Anthony Joshua versus Mike Tyson. Who wins?
Tyson.
Mike Tyson versus Deontay Wilder.
Tyson.
Mike Tyson versus Daniel Dubois.
Dubois.
Daniel Dubois versus Evander Holyfield.
Dubois.
Daniel Dubois versus Vitaly Klitschko.
Vitaly.
Vitaly Klitschko versus Joe Frazier.
Vitaly.
Vitaly Klitschko versus Lennox Lewis.
Lewis.
Lennox Lewis versus George Foreman.
Foreman.
George Foreman versus Vladimir Klitschko.
Vladimir.
Vladimir Klitschko versus Tyson Fury.
Tyson.
Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk.
Tyson.
Tyson Fury versus Muhammad Ali.
Tyson.
Seems
what
like
an interesting, what an interesting lightning round.
Shout out to His Excellency there, Rob.
I think he's doing a great job if he's listening.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, talking a great job. Here's one for you, Matty. Bit of Conor Benn taking to Instagram, Twitter, can't remember what the platform was, to call out Mario Barrios in Spanish. And then he realised that Barrios doesn't actually speak Spanish. Although I'll forgive Ben for this one, I think, Matty. You know, he's calling out Mario Barrios there, coming in with all the gear. I would have assumed Mario would have, hablo a bit of Espanol myself, but Conor's call out was wasted. Clearly, my transition was wasted, Matty. You're not interested in this one?
Oh no, sorry, I was on mute there. I don't know why he thinks every person with brown skin in the southern United States speaks Spanish, but that seems to be the direction that he's chosen to go on that one. But I'd like to say we wish him well, Steve, but that would be a lie. And I would just prefer that he goes up 2 weight classes, gets thumped by Eubank, and we never hear from his stupid ass again.
Do you speak any other languages, Matty, apart from English and the language of love?
No, I barely even speak English, Steve.
Oh, habla English.
No, he's coming on well. He's doing well. A bit more Conor. As if it wasn't enough, Damo sent this to me. If Conor Benn wins the WBC title, he is only interested in big fights, not Boots Ennis. And Conor says, who knows who Boots is? I was walking around Philly and Miami. Everyone is familiar with the Benn name in the States. Ennis comes to England. No one knows who he is. If you say big names, I don't look at him. I look at Pacquiao, bro, and Kell Khan, people invested in personality. There ain't much of that with Boots. You know what? He's not far wrong there, to be fair, Robert.
He's hosting a Punches from the Past. Does he like any active fighters?
Oh, yeah. Flip me. He's had a good year, though, hasn't he? Did he fight? Who did he fight this year? He fought
I'm not thinking about Boots Ennis right now. I'm thinking about guys like Marlon Starling, Don Curry, Matt Breland. You know what I mean?
Aaron Coley.
Fucking hell.
Oh, man. Oh, he's loving life, old Conor. Aye, Conor Benn.
Whatever happened to Livingston Bramble? My God.
Yeah. Why not? IBO title on the line. Let's make it happen, I say. We haven't heard from the Guard in a while. So let's rectify that now, Justin. A couple of back-to-back guard clips for you.
Dice here, a couple of years ago, losing to Fraser Clark in 6 rounds. He gets another opportunity, a huge opportunity here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, against the... Very interesting contest this, as we approach the 1:15 mark left of the 4th round. This one is really heating up.
Yep, this is Johnny Fisher against Dave Allen.
Getting a disgusted look for being on his phone. He's pimping the energy drinks. He's on the phone. He's looking at the camera. Classic Guard.
Good lad, the Guard, isn't he?
Oh, he is. Yeah. He's at all the major events, Rob. You can't knock him.
He's just vibing. He's just vibing.
I'm starting to fucking feel a bit sorry for him now. It's probably come to... Is that fucking clip with Big John Fisher in it?
Oh, it's coming. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah. No worries. Or maybe it's forgotten about, like this guy.
Yeah, well, let's make the fight, man. Like, I need to get back in the gym, and I'm coming for it, man. Joe.
Have
poor guy got unplugged.
Have reached vocabulary limit.
He should have stormed the ring after Usyk Fury, Matt. He did storm it, wasn't it? Was it after Fury Chisora? Didn't he come up to the side of the ropes or something? I think, didn't he? And offered his services to fight Fury afterwards. I think Joe Joyce. Maybe someone.
I think if lads are going to be as quiet as him, they're going to need to bring in like mad talking, like 80s WWE style wrestling managers beside him with like big megaphones shouting in people's faces. You know what I mean? And just had the boys say nothing. Like that's what I think.
Bring Frank into the ring with the printed out scorecards.
Do me a favour.
He was raging, wasn't he?
Fucking brilliant. Oh, fucking hell.
It's not been all bad for Frank, though. Rob, it's not been all bad for Frank. There was a letter come into the Boxing News, my employer no less, from Peter Shaw, no pseudonym. And he said, I was extremely pleased to see Boxing News giving a long overdue accolade to Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren. Perhaps this is the proper time to set Frank at the pinnacle of the world's greatest boxing promoters, both ancient and modern. Even Tex Rickard, who grabbed the business by the scruff of the neck in 1910 when he promoted Johnson versus Jeffries in Reno, never came anywhere close to what Warren has tackled and overcome. He's been the biggest game changer of British boxing, and arguably of boxing itself anywhere in the world over the course of his near half century, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps the board might consider nominating him for some kind of recognition. His character, business acumen, diligence, and heart for the game have all shaped it into what it is today, and there has never been the slightest blemish on his spotless good name.
I'm actually going to fucking send that in. Fucking hell, man. Now, for anyone who was fucking on the fence about the text Rickard Frank Warren debate, now you know who's the real daddy there. Fuck off, man. Yeah. Who's wrote that?
I don't know.
He might have wrote it.
Maybe he got Frank the T-Boy to write it as part of that. Do you remember when he had to dress up in the
He has had a great career in fairness. We can't knock him for that. He's had a great time over the years, and he's still having a great time by the looks of it. So fair play to Frank.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. Meanwhile, over in Africa, Tanzania should be moving up a gear. Instead, they've had to put on the brakes. Tim Boxeo here. Amazing scene at the main event in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, at almost 7 o'clock, over 12 hours after the start of the event. Frank would blush at that one. Paulus Amavilla makes his ring walk and enters the ring with his arm in a cast. You can see it there in the blue circle. It is announced that Amavilla was in an accident, was rushed to hospital, and fractured his arm. The ring announcer raises the arm of Tanzanian legend Mafome, but it isn't clear how this bout will be officially recorded. That's one way of doing it, I suppose.
The legend is he used to have two names.
After 12 hours, this guy's in an accident, comes to the ring with a broken arm, and they award the win to his opponent without any fight taking place. And there's the entourage in the ring as well. Oh dear.
Celebrate those wins.
Exactly.
This is worse than fucking Devin Haney getting his world title fucking email to him. This is.
Oh man. Yeah, so I think I have another video for you. As Rob mentioned, it's the guard again with Big John.
Anyone's opinion who thought Dave won the fight, but the way you and Spencer went over the top, I thought you were a serious journalist. You showed how incapable you are of actually reporting on a proper fight. He won the fight, yeah, I watched it back. He won round 1 to 4, round 10, and round 7, you could have called it to Johnny. So for you to say it was a robbery and disgusting, Gareth, you was welcome in my house before, you'll never be welcome in my house again, because I think you acted like a complete and utter disgrace, alright? And I'll tell you to your face, because I'm a man, I'm not holding back. Anyone can say they think Dave won the fight. Dave's team themselves said it wasn't a robbery, and you're shouting out things like that. I've lost all respect for you. People used to tell me, don't respect Gareth Davies. I've said no, he's all right. Totally lost all respect for you. Never come and see me again, and never ask for my advice in anything ever again. Yeah, you do, sir. You do, because you have not got a clue. And when I see you, I'll tell you. All right? All the best. Merry Christmas.
Who's asking that fat bastard for advice on anything in this world besides what to order?
He'd want to leave the fucking guard. The guard's a fucking journalist. He's entitled to call the fight how he saw it. It wasn't just the guard that said it was a robbery. The whole world said it was a robbery, right? Everybody thought it was a robbery. Dave Allen should have won the fucking fight. And he can't be going on trying to bully the guard at all. Oh, fucking, you're not welcome. God was serving him back. Oh, you're not welcome in my house. I don't want to go to your fucking house anyway. God should have said, you fucking Egypt. What are you talking about? And then he said to the guard, all he got all cheap and petty with him. He was like, "Oh, everybody told me not to respect Gareth A. Davies." Shut up, John Fisher, man.
That's
Can't
the right
face
bloke,
down everybody that fucking disagree.
Yeah.
The chap was exposed. You need to fucking relax with his career. Get him into match him correctly, and bring him along slowly, and make the most of him being a ticket seller. He should have lost the fight last week, and that's it. Fucking poor Gad, man. Well, Gad threw a slight fucking retort. He was like, "Okay, John, you go have your dinner, and we'll continue this interview." Where's your dinner, John? Boss.
Steve, we talk about how mollycoddled and entitled and precious today's society is. Can you imagine in the 80s saying there's going to be a heavyweight boxer who nicks a result, and the dad tells off the journalist that said he was lucky to get it? Like how crazy has this world become?
Yeah, in a snowflake generation, we're maybe looking in the wrong place.
God,
you know,
you've got a grown-up professional boxer, and his dad's having to tell the journalist off because the journalist said what everybody already said. Like it's so flaky, it's so precious. They're so entitled. I've got no time for this type of thing. I really haven't. I think people like that have got no right to get any platform whatsoever.
Well, back in the day, you wouldn't film yourself calling him. You would just wait till you saw. You'd wait till you saw him out in public or saw him personally, and then you would talk some shit to him. You wouldn't have 5 people filming you talk shit to some guy. Yeah,
that's a good point.
He's just upset because, like you said, his son found his level. His son sucks. He's not going to go anywhere, and I don't care what anybody's already calling it now. Johnny Fisher's not going anywhere because Dave Allen should have beat him, was laying it on him, and when you built that, I mean, look at the fan base they've built up off of his son, and now that fat ass has got nowhere to go because that's it. His meal ticket is his kid, and it's all going to come crumbling down. So no wonder he's pissed.
I think it's a shame though as well, Des, because I think young Johnny, I don't know him personally, I've never interviewed him or met him. He comes across as a decent enough young kid. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I bet. From what I understand, and I know a lot of people that know Johnny quite well. They said he's a brilliant guy from a brilliant family. But can you see how people get caught up in it? I mean, like I remember Evander Holyfield getting a close one against Bobby Size. Could you imagine Bobby Size's dad ringing up the reporter and having a go at them? You know, like it's what we spoke about earlier, Steve. There's a different culture around heavyweights now. They're softer, they're more mollycoddled. Go back to that Shannon Briggs story where he didn't have a coat in winter. Like, just compare it to our guys now. So, no, I agree, mate. I totally agree with you. Totally on your side with this. It's just a bizarre situation we've got ourselves in with this whole dads are now famous, and you know, it really doesn't do me. It's not for me. It don't do boxing any favors. I'm sure there's loads of people that enjoy it, but I'm not one of them. But no, in answer to your question, Steve, apparently he's a terrific guy and they come from a good family. But we're not getting the best of them, are we, seeing this?
No, exactly. Right, final one I have here is, I'm going to have to share my screen because I haven't cut this one out. So Rob will no doubt help me on this one. So Clarissa Shields has been involved in a feud. It was trending online. This was a couple of Thursdays ago after rapper Remy Ma took to social media to lash out at her husband Papoose over an affair with Shields. The beef led to Remy Ma and Papoose exchanging cheating accusations and Shields posting her own takes on the drama. Remy Ma versus Clarissa Shields drama heats up. Twitter celebrity watching account Chase That Clout reported Remy accuses Papoose of cheating with the boxer, sharing alleged texts. Shields clapped back. Again, all going a bit IFL here, Rob. I think both have since deleted the posts, but the internet is allegedly buzzing, it says.
Yeah, well, Remy Ma is a famous female rapper, part of the Terror Squad from the Boogie Down Bronx. She's married to Brooklyn rapper Papoose. Everybody thought they had a great marriage, and then rumors start flying last year or the year before that Remy Ma was cheating with some no-name battle rapper on poor Papoose, right? And the big deal was like Papoose stayed loyal to her when she was at the prison because she shot someone in the stomach, so she had to do a little bit of a bid.
Oh.
And yeah, so watch out the growth. I mean, you better hope you had those belts tied around your stomach. You don't know what the fuck you're fucking.
Make sure you've done that medicine ball work.
Yeah. So Clarissa Shields was called her out for a fight, but I don't know if she knows what kind of fight she's getting herself into. Anyway, I hope they all work it out and everybody has a happy ending. But apparently, Papoose and Clarissa Shields are in some kind of an item now, and Remy Ma published a text between the two of them where Clarissa Shields was asking, why won't you tell me that you didn't get home safe and all? You're the one married and not me and all this kind of carry on. So it was very interesting reading, to say the least. But yeah, the GOAT might be undefeated in the ring, but she could be fucking 49-1 or whatever the fuck she is in the streets messing around with Remy Ma. So let's hope there's a peaceful resolution to that one for everyone.
Let's hope so.
I'm glad you were able to fill us in on the details because I didn't have a clue who any of those motherfuckers were.
Can't say that name, Marty. There we go. That's all the ones that I've got. Anyone has any nominations, feel free to unmute yourselves now and throw them into the ring before we go through them and pick a winner. Okay, I take it we don't have any nominations. Let's play another video, shall we, just for old time's sake. What else have we got here? Some of the old ones are the good ones here. We'll go with... Oh, here we are. This is timeline.
Yeah. One of the things on my list here to ask you about is You've got a mass of tattoos on your legs, yeah? Tell us about the tattoos. All right, there they are. Oh, there we go. Wow.
Yeah, actually, I do.
Tell us about the tattoos.
Okay, well, I mean, I got tattoos on my arms as well, but so I got a dragon, and I mainly got that one, honestly, for art, but then I've got the phoenix. I've got to show you this, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'm sure no one will mind.
So that's a phoenix, if you can tell.
Yes, I can see the phoenix, yeah.
Yep, and that is like, I don't know if you know, obviously everyone knows about a phoenix, but a phoenix is the rise of the phoenix. You rise from the ashes, you know what I mean?
So it's symbolic for you?
It's symbolic, yeah, definitely. The phoenix is definitely symbolic for me.
Yeah, which just reminds me that she was nothing more than a blown-up flyweight.
Symbolic for a lot of us now.
As if he cares about being banned from John Fisher's house, eh?
Absolute mug on him. And he said, yes, I can see the phoenix.
Oh, the God. What a guy. Right, let's go through them and then let's get
It's all right for us to do that to the God,
Yeah.
but you can't fucking ring him up and say, oh,
No.
your opinion was wrong.
No, exactly. We mean well. Right, Clarissa has been nominated, so we shall get rid of her. Go back to the beginning for Usyk. A bit of Oscar. We had Sports Illustrated getting thrown in. We had Wellington himself. We had Conor Benn. No Espanol. And then him going in on boots and picking up some punches from the past to fight. Game Changer, Frank with the letter. And then Fun and Games out in Tanzania. We then had the videos. We had the guard at the Fury fight ×2 with the phone and the energy drink. We had Big John going in on the guard, banning him from his house. We had Tyson Fury talking about Usyk doesn't belong in the Western world. He'll never do anything. And Turki Al-Sheikh, His Excellency, going through the fantasy fights. Matty, who do you fancy on this end of the year Bellew of the week?
I honestly, Steve, I think I have to go with the end of the bromance between Gad and Big John. The boxing community weeps.
Do you think it could be repaired, this one?
You know, I think if Gad shows up to the door with a couple of sacks of Chinese takeout, I'm sure that Big John would entertain his apologies.
Okay, one shout out for the guard stroke Big John. Des, who are you going for this week, please?
I'm going to go for the old man telling off the reporter for daring to say his son didn't deserve to win the fight. I've never heard anything go stupid in all my life.
Big John getting a nomination there. Who are you going for, Justin?
I'm going to go with the guy with the cast from Tanzania. You think about it, if you sat there, which I don't know, for 13 hours, I'd be saying, make him fight. Make him fight with the cast. If I had to sit for 13 hours, I'd be like, let him go. I mean, I'd have been pissed. But on the other hand, I probably don't have much of a life anyway if I'm sitting in Tanzania for 13 and a half hours waiting for Muthiane to fight some random dude. But anyway, yeah, I'm going for the Tanzania.
60 hours picking potatoes, so you come here, spend $2 on a ticket, get a Pepsi, and this is what you're fucking left with. This fucking asshole quitting just because he gets an offender bender. Bitch, get in the ring and forearm shiver that motherfucker. It's a built-in advantage.
He can still jab. Hey, there's a lot of guys that fought fights with one arm that had to.
He'd be like Antonio Margarito with the gloves on.
Yeah.
DB Cooper says, you lads have way too much time on your hands. I don't think anyone's accused us of that before with these edits. What the fuck? This is episode 600. Where have you been? We've gone through many an hour on a Sunday evening. Rob, who are you going for?
Well, I had a quick one, as usual, missed the fucking cue. But Devin Haney mentioned the missus after being the fucking police or someone released a video of her crying, visiting the rapper Young Thug while he was incarcerated, saying that she can't live without him and that. And everyone's saying now, like, oh, Haney made a bad choice. But the girl was part of a well-known group of polyamorous people, or poly kind of, what's the kind of fucking, they're all in kind of like the sister wife relationship with a guy called...
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, your vocabulary was cooperating.
Taz's Angels. So she was one of many of a part of a kind of a harem of alleged workers. I don't know what the fuck. But anyway, who'd have thought that would have played out like that for Devin Haney? After that, you would have thought the fucking everything would be rosy in the garden, but apparently not.
From Bob Arum to a harem of harlots there, Rob, you saying?
So you've seen a few harem of harlots as well, Arum. But I'm eating a chicken ball while giving me a vote to Big John Fisher.
Oh, brilliant.
So I have that one. Bosh, Big John, you can't be doing that to the guard, man. Get a life for yourself. There's a life out there.
That is dedication to the cause. Well done, Rob. Authentic authentic pick from you there. And I'm going to back it up.
From Heifer.
Yep. I'm going as well for the guard stroke Johnny Fisher. John Fisher, rather. You are the Bellew of the Week winners for this end of year special. Congratulations. We're all done for the evening.
I have to jump. I have to go collect my little one. But good speaking to you all again. Have a happy new year. See you soon.
Same to you, Rob. Take care.
Cheers.
Thanks for
Take
coming
care,
on.
Rob. Bye,
Yep.
mate.
Rapping Rob Kelly there. Great stuff. We echo his feelings on the guard and John Fisher, I imagine, and also on the end of year. Thanks to everybody who's come on this evening. Justin, Des, Matty. Thanks to everyone who's been on during the year as well and supporting the show. Matty and the boys are doing a fantastic job. And long may it continue. Continue supporting them if you can with the super chats, sharing the pod, tuning in, chat, comments, likes, all that type of stuff. It helps the boys out. Episode 600, way back from when podcasts weren't cool, and they're still going. Thanks very much. It's been great to jump into the hot seat. I endeavour to do this at some point during 2025. But I've been Steve Wellings, and we'll catch you all again.
Thanks, Adam.
Yep, Hatton as well. Exactly. Well remembered, Matty. I got to give a shout out to the boys. Let me almost
Yep,
forgot.
and also Ray.
How to practice, Ray. Yes. Well done, Matty. €11.99 from Ray there. Thank you so much for that. And Hatton Bomb with an outstanding explosive £101 as well there. He's always in the chat. The Nutters group, if you want to join us, patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. It's a great community, as Des often says. So thanks to the super chatters. Thanks for listening. And we'll catch you maybe off next week, Matty. Would I be right in saying, and back the following week?
I think that's a good plan.
That'll do, lovely. We'll see you all then for episode 601. I've been Steve Wellings in the temporary hot seat. Same time, same place, week after next. And bye.
We'll never forget.
Golly, that's good at me.
Go to and move! We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking Sri that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7 year ain't. I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.